And we're on.
Good evening.
The dogs are barking.
Dogs are barking. Weather's nice. Rained all day.
3 people signed on already. Holy man. Good evening. Let us know in the comments. We got audio. Want to make sure you guys can hear us.
I'm just trying to set up the
TikTok.
on the other one. We'll do that. See if we can.
Let us know what the weather's like in your area. We had some. It wasn't like freezing rain, freezing fog.
When I stepped out of the house with my jacket on, it was raining.
A little bit of everything, yeah. It was 9:30 at night last night. It was raining. It was still raining at 5:30 this morning. So.
Well, it was full on raining.
Yeah.
And then even when I drove over here, we hadn't had it running all day, but ice straight up.
Kent's on. He's got no sound on YouTube.
No sound. Is that us or what? Is that
Mike says it's working, so.
Oh, okay. So
do the old quick setting check there.
Gotta turn his volume up. Okay, let's do this.
Audio? Yeah, Mike's working on this side. All right. What are we talking about this evening?
I think we're going to start off with, we're going to talk about inflation, inflationary things.
That scared the hell out of me.
All things inflation.
Because I was like, I'm not a banker. I don't really know if I understand this. I just know that things get expensive, and I have $5 for a loaf of bread, and I can only get 3/4 of a loaf of bread now.
Yeah.
So
I get a little bit confused around their numbers because actually I was watching a thing on, I think it was a quick TikTok that was showing basically the price of a bag of flour, and I think it was Costco last year, $5.75.
Yeah.
This year,
$15. Wow.
And inflation is like what they say, 7% or something.
Yeah.
So how? Yep. I don't know if that's 7%.
Well, so it's 7% overall, right? 7% upon your entire economy, but of course, a number of commodities within that economy, inflation rates varied. Because I got into it. Well, I come really close to getting into it with a guy online about the price of eggs. I don't know if you see my short the other day. I said, like, I can't believe we argue with people over the cost of eggs being $5 when you'll literally go buy romaine lettuce for $10 and throw it in the fucking garbage. Mm-hmm. Like it's just ludicrous to me, right?
That's the plan.
And then some guy that knows everything pops up there and says, no, $5 is too much, and the cost of eggs has gone up 300% in the last year. And I'm like, well, that's not factual. It's not factual at all. They've gone up 49% in the last year. So I don't know. People are angry, I guess, about it, but.
Well, that's the other thing too. I think when you're looking at things, there's a lot of people don't even compare apples to apples, right? They'll find some like low budget on sale egg from last year, that price, and then compare it to like the most expensive.
Egg the top of the line, price, like diamond encrusted chicken eggs. Right?
This used to be, it actually never was.
No, it never ever was. Yeah,
so,
that product was $7 at the beginning of the year, and now it's $9 now, right?
Exactly.
Yeah,
and certainly we have to do a better job of comparing like things, not just.
That's right.
Right. I mean, I guess an egg and an egg.
It's got to be an equitable comparison. It's tough for the consumer though, because when they see an egg and it's in their hand or it's in the frying pan or it's on their plate, it really is tough without doing a nutritional analysis to really say what's the difference here, right?
It is, but they'll. I mean, we believe all sorts of other things, so why wouldn't we believe a farmer?
Why wouldn't you believe a guy on the internet? Right?
I suppose.
Because you don't hang your credentials out there, right? Unless they subscribe to your channel and watch, and kind of figure out they know what you're talking about over a period of time. Well, a lot of folks are just ready to fight.
That's amazing. Yeah. That's been an eye opener too, is how many people are just instantly charged up.
Yeah.
Just ready to go.
We've seen the whole thing over the weather, right?
It was amazing.
Over the Christmas break, we had, I think it was right before Christmas, we were into the mid -40s, and it was like a seven episode series of this one guy just like, it's never been -40 in Alberta. And it's like, okay, I got to teach this pig to sing, because I got literally 1,000 people on the internet standing behind me saying, no, it's totally been -40. Like it's -50 for crying out loud.
I can't imagine being so confident and so wrong.
That takes some big balls.
like you want to meet this individual and shake their hand and just to see like, how did you get this way?
Yeah.
And very, very easy to check. I mean, you could just phone Global News and ask them.
Oh, yeah. I mean, the technology is literally right at the end of your fingertips, right?
But that's instant. Well, you and I talked about it. Like sometimes when you're writing out your comment, it wouldn't hurt just to proof it real quick.
Yeah.
And then, this isn't gold. I'm going to delete it.
I'm going to pause that and I'm going to think about it. Maybe I'll if it's still there in the morning, then maybe I'll send it.
But some people just
pull the trigger. Bam.
They're just throwing it out, eh?
Yeah.
Like whatever, whenever, at any cost.
It's okay to be an idiot quietly.
I couldn't imagine. Well, I've seen some of this stuff get deleted fairly rapidly. And you just I think it was on another one of yours where I see this. It was a lady or whatever, which had recently deleted something that was just so beyond dumb.
Yeah.
Wow. Because you can click on it, say comment not found.
That's right, and they disappear. Yeah. Sometimes I wonder if that's been like somebody's reported it, or maybe even somebody at like YouTube has just been like, "No, you're an idiot." they just deleted it for you. Because I know I get lots of comments deleted off my YouTube channel, and I wonder why. Like, because they're not offensive, they're not like obscure. Like, there's nothing bizarre about them, but they just disappear. Right? You got to wonder what's happening in the back rooms of YouTube.
Yeah, well, there's all sorts. I've noticed too. Some will come up from like 6 or 7 months ago.
Yeah.
Wonder how that got lost in the atmosphere.
Oh, that's good. And your Christmas was good, eh?
It was good. I had the flu and everything, the plague, about 2 weeks before the Christmas break.
Yeah.
So I was healthy.
Yeah.
Right.
Because I think this was originally on the books for like right before Christmas.
Yeah, that Friday.
And then I got sick.
Wow.
I wasn't good. So we waited Charlotte's Christmas concert, and she had like, pus in her eye or whatever. We're like, oh, for real? Like, is this really gonna happen right now? And like the next day, she crawled out of her bed and come up to our bed. It's like 10 o'clock at night. She just crawled in our bed. I'm like, okay, whatever. I'm not gonna take her back to her bed now. She can just crawl in there. That's fine. I in there for like 10 minutes, and all of a sudden, you just hear, ugh! And she puked like right in my ear, in my eye, in my mouth, and it's just that warm, like that, that just like warm bile all over your face and just running down your shirt. And I jump out of bed and I'm just like, I don't even know what I said. I have no recollection whatsoever what I said, but I know that Carmen's like, "Why are you so angry right now?" Like, it's in my mouth. It's in my mouth, and you can feel it like all the way down to like the inner part of your ear canal, like places where Q-tips can't reach. There's so warm puke, and then it was 2 days later, and I was like, sick. I'm like, perfect timing, but it was actually not bad because the whole family got sick like right before Christmas, so we're all just like, whatever. We're all sick anyways. Let's just get together and just have a good time, and the kids enjoyed it. And
that's we were kind of worrying about that in our situation. Like, I don't want to be sick over Christmas, and then
it's always tough when you have relatives over too, right? And,
even I guess like my father-in-law came when he had my nieces and nephews in the truck, and I was like, no, don't bring them in here after Christmas.
Yeah,
those 4 days till Christmas.
Yeah,
just after Christmas, perfect sleepovers and everything, but let's just get through Christmas and New Year's without anybody, because we had all been sick before, and nobody wanted to get it.
You don't want to revisit that, right?
I mean, we'd heard all horror stories all over. Like, I was good for 2 weeks, and then bang, down for another 10 days.
Yeah, ugh, gross.
So we got shown what it was like to be housed for 2 years.
Yeah,
we learned that.
Yeah.
I was living.
Lack of immunity.
Here. I hadn't been sick for like 2.5, 3 years.
Well, you never got sick before.
Thought, this is perfect.
Yeah.
Oh, man.
Yeah.
I will never forget that. I will never forget that 17 days.
Humbled right now, hey?
Oh.
Yeah. Oh, well. Who we got on here? We got Kent's on, Robin Tangadol's on, Leo, your cousin. Oh, Leo's in Las Vegas.
Really?
It says, good evening from Las Vegas. Missing tonight's live stream, flying home. Have a drink for Taylor and Leo. Well, he caught the first little bit anyways. Chad's on. And it's okay to be an idiot quietly. Yeah, that's the quote of the year right there. And Chad said the only sickness he had over the holidays was self-induced. Well, we're going to see if we can make up for a couple of weeks of lost time, sensibly, of course.
We are. We're gonna have a good smoke. We're gonna go. We're gonna revisit. We're gonna
Revisit an old friend.
An old friend, and
Should we?
this is so. I was gonna do. We're gonna smoke a Monte Cristo number 2. That is arguably probably the most famous cigar that any of our friends, people we know, our peer group, they would almost recognize that.
If you were to say it out loud, they might know.
And that would be the only one. I like, you know, maybe one or two others. But if you're not a cigar smoker, you're going to know this. This is like the cigar. These have been what? They've been in here for almost half a year now.
Has it been a half a year? So I looked the other day. We've been doing these live streams together for a year now. It's officially a year.
Interesting.
That's wild to think that, you know?
It is.
Yeah.
How many have we done? 20?
We've done 15.
15?
Actually, because no, we've done 15 under Smoke and Oak, but we did a couple of joint ones. We both filmed off both of our channels at the same time. Right. So yeah, we probably are 20.
Well, it's been fun. I know. It's been good.
Yeah.
Learned lots of stuff.
Yeah. Couple of guys down there, ball caps and hoodies and dirty old jeans in front of the tractor, and
drinking solo cups.
Look at you now. Hey?
We're right uptown.
Right uptown, yeah.
The finest scotch, the finest cigars.
Well, I don't know about
suits.
the finest scotch tonight. We'll see.
So these cigars have been basically the same blend since 1935.
Hasn't changed a bit. Eh?
So they've made it through the revolution. They've made it through the embargoes. They've made it through everything.
Wow.
Now, I still am going to do this later on because this is the only. Well, we have smaller boxes of cigars, but we bought a box of these. So there's 20.
There's 25, I think, 25. In the case. Yeah.
So I just did notes. So you're going to get hints of cinnamon, almonds, and then as it's burning, it's going to change to espresso, cedar. Cool thing about this, and I didn't realize, there's the oiliness of the wrapper is going to make it just like a razor sharp line as it burns down.
Oh, really?
So I'm interested to see if we can, because when you're not a professional cigar smoker, it's a disaster.
Sure.
So we're always,
you're not steering that ship.
We're always a disaster with the wrapper and with everything else. So the second third, you're going to get nutmeg, leather. Then once you're getting into the third third of it, cedar, white, and black pepper. The one interesting thing that I found, because I never knew how long a cigar would last in the humidor. So
decades, isn't it?
It is. The one guy that was talking about this on the internet and kind of reviewing it has smoked cigars from their infancy, within a few weeks of being rolled, up to 50 years.
50 years.
I could not even imagine what that cigar would be worth. Because I'm pretty sure when you look, I mean, a guy that was going to Cuba brought these back, so we got the Cuban pricing. But these cigars are like $700 a box, I think.
What?
So
holy man!
You imagine something that's 50 years
old.
Well,
no, I can imagine that, because those Cohibas in there, I mean, they're $97 a cigar in Canada.
Right. So if you got if they're $40 a cigar in Canada, they're going to make that box over $800.
Yeah.
So, but it's amazing. So that's just a quick synopsis of the cigar. They're like I say, they're arguably the most well-known, notable cigars, and they have it's an amazing history.
Very sweet smelling too. I love that smell.
They are. They even go into say the light brown wrapper. This is the filler, the binder, the wrapper. That's all straight from Cuba.
Yeah.
I forget the county, province, whatever they have the name of it, but it's arguably the best tobacco in the world's grown there.
Really.
So this all comes from there. The light brown is like the signature of the Monte Cristo cigar, and then the oily wrapper that keeps it burning smooth. They even say when you get down into the last third that the only thing that makes that part sad is the fact you're almost done.
Really?
It's just
that consistent.
And I think when we had the first, I think we really enjoyed it.
Yeah, it burned quickly, but I think that's because it was brand new, like right off the plane kind of thing, and just it hadn't acclimated to this.
This should be well seasoned.
That's
and
right.
Then
yeah.
With these pyramid tips, you always want to cut the least amount as possible. That way it channels all the flavor. You can always cut more, but you want if you have a
you
draw,
get too
but you
greedy,
want
and then you end up with your
with-
wrapper coming unfurled, right?
the smallest one. So that's the cigar for this evening.
Well, that's interesting. So Monte Cristo's named after
The
Count
book,
of Monte Cristo,
you
right?
betcha.
They would read that. The lector
The lector.
would read that. Do they still do that?
I can't imagine they still do.
No.
I expect the radio's probably playing and the
I wonder if they have it on audiobook or
MP3s or whatever. But yeah, that's where the term. That's why I've got named. That was the cigar roller's favorite book.
oh, so that was a cool little piece of the history.
And
right?
then
So,
even the crossed swords on the box. That's I don't think they're on here, but that's
they're not
from,
on here.
That's from the book.
From the book, yeah.
So,
Hmm.
but yeah, like just like I was telling Stan earlier, like you could probably do like a 2-3 hour live just on this cigar alone, just on the Monte Cristo. You know,
Yeah.
by the time you get into the different wrappers and the different,
Oh man, get in deep.
it's really interesting, you know, for someone like myself who never, I mean, really until we started doing these lives, didn't have much interest in cigars. You just crawl down that, and it's fascinating.
Might just have had one or two sitting in the freezer somewhere, right?
Right, just the most horrendous thing you could do to a cigar, which we were all told as soon as you get home,
throw it in the freezer, and then I just might as well just throw it right in the garbage after that. So
it's like smoking a big garbage bag full of leaves.
Yeah. Oh, what fun, hey?
What fun.
Okay. So drinks tonight. We have a special one. So this was this bottle here was actually gifted by a coworker of mine. It's McClelland single malt Scotch whiskey. It's a Speyside whiskey. The age of this is not actually specified, but it's estimated from a couple of the reviewers that it's probably around 5 years. So it's a young whiskey, but in order to be single malt Scotch, it has to be at least 3 years, right? So 5. So at least it hits the mark there. It's 40% alcohol by volume. On the nose, we should get grain, malt, a little bit of sharp oak. They're transparent, say it's going to be young alcohol, a light little bit of peat, perhaps a bit metallic, maybe even some slightly bitter licorice. Again, there's some bitterness and some menthol, I think, that's going to come towards the end. So the taste itself, right on the top of the palate, is going to be malt, sweet custard, spices, light oak, a bit of honey, distinct menthol taste. And like it just sounds like a garbage bag full of whatever. Like there's all the flavors,
just whatever,
all the flavors. And so I was surprised when you see the label and it says it's Speyside, and I'm thinking, okay, well, it should maybe have some hints of some sherry or something like that, but there's no notes whatsoever of that. So apparently, if you add a few drops of water or even put an ice cube in there, you can draw out a lot of flavor with this one. I didn't bring any ice tonight, but whatever. But anyways, it's a $45 bottle of Scotch all day long. It is a single malt, but it's really intended for somebody new that's like, interested in trying Scotch for the first time, that they can do it without breaking the bank, and they can do it in like a regional fashion. So this company, McClelland's, they have a bunch of different ones, right? They have the Speyside, they have the Highland, they have the Lowland, and then I think they have another one as well. I got it written down here somewhere, but yeah. So the McClelland's distillery doesn't exist.
Okay.
So McClelland's is actually a bottling and export company, right? They released 5 single malt whiskeys from. There was the Highland, the Lowland, the Speyside, and Isla was the other one. And there's no age specified. They estimate that they're around 5 years, but there's no actual like 10 or 12 or 15 actually formally put out there, right? And then they did add in 2008, there was a Speyside 12 that they did add where they did actually make an age statement. So that was kind of interesting too. All the other ones were introduced in 1986. This one was created in 1999. And McClelland's is a Glasgow-based, like I said, whiskey blending and export firm. They were actually founded in 1818. So the company was then purchased in 1970 by what became Morrison Bowmore. You're familiar with the Bowmore distillery. We don't know if we have Bowmore in the collection or not, but they do make a nice whiskey actually. So that's a division of Suntory. Suntory is the owners of Auchentoshan, which is a lowland whiskey. So they have a distillery. And then the Isla whiskey from Glengarrioch from the Highlands. So all of those other distilleries, or all of those other versions of the whiskey, all come from a specific distillery in that area. But Suntory does not own a Speyside distillery. So if you can scour the internet high and low and look under the covers, and you will not find where this is distilled. It's just a matter of, yeah, it's kind of cool. So some folks think that maybe it's from where, like, Craigalackie Distillery, where Dewar's White Label, because if you taste it, the taste is very similar, but there's like actually nothing out there to say where this even comes from. So
that's quite amazing, because all the ones we've done so far, there's so much pride in the Scotch, and this is just like,
yeah, well, there was
a secret.
It is a secret, and there was even some folks saying, well, no, it's more like a Macallan. Okay, well, I mean, there was some confusion around the name. I told you about that earlier, right? Because they are similar.
Oh, I even was confused too when you messaged me the other day.
But Macallan only takes I think it's 14% of their spirit they actually use in Macallan whiskey, and basically all the still bottoms go to like Cuddy Sark and all those other knockoff blends that come from the same distillery, right? So the odds of them contributing to something like this as a single malt as opposed to a blend is actually kind of unlikely. So, but yeah, I mean, all that remains to be seen is whether it tastes like tin foil or what. So I guess we'll see.
I gotta put this up while you open that. This actually turned on finally.
Oh, you finally got it to work. Chad says, light taste of metallic sounds great, especially with a hint of peat. I'll have some 40 Creek for you instead. Yeah, I mean, there's a lot. That's a pretty broad description of what could be in there. And really, I mean, once we crack it open, we'll kind of make our minds up for ourselves, because some of those descriptions, I don't know. I don't get lots of the, apple crisp or whatever.
No, I hear you. It's not always accurate.
I'm in there, but you're not in there. You want to get a piece of that?
It's not even on, so.
Oh, it's not on.
I'll just see if it turns on.
Well, this might not work out because I literally just snapped the cork off in my hand.
We don't have a wine bottle either.
Stand by. We're going to have to finish this goddamn bottle.
To pull up myself a nice spot on the floor here, then.
All right. Bloom's pen.
I'm going to push her down or what?
I'm going to go down, yeah.
Interesting. Well, that did turn green, so we'll see if it stays on or not.
There we are. We're cork in. That's never happened before. What do we do with this now? There's going to be bits of cork floating around in here.
Perfect.
That's just the way we like it.
That's exactly what we
May I pour you one?
Absolutely.
Yeah, now it'll have a taste of cork. Isn't that the truth? Wow.
I'm gonna add some of your 10,000 year water to it, because I've been finding, if I've enjoyed one, the water really does have that.
Hopefully there's not too much cork in there for you.
That's perfect.
It's just floating around like an old bobber in there. Man, oh man. I don't even know what to do with that now, because we usually don't ever finish a bottle. We
throw a garbage bag over the top of her. Is there no empty bottle? You probably take the one out of the Appleton steaks instead. It's not a real high rum.
Yeah, I guess I could pour it into another bottle somewhere and put a cap on it, but well, might still be able to just put that there and keep the flies out of it. Figure a drop of water, eh?
I'm going to do.
You know what? I'm not gonna. I'm gonna have a swill, and we'll see. It does smell kind of like it's sitting there, and I can already pick up. It's almost floral.
It's pretty hot though. You know, one thing I also didn't realize: your
What's that?
first drink of scotch is supposed to be a throwaway drink. I didn't even realize that. You know that?
I've heard that, but I don't find that helps me very much.
You don't?
I always like to roll it around and just get the whiskey around my mouth. And
I really, I don't know. That really made sense to me. Like the first drink, it's just kind of in on the tongue, roof of the mouth, and down the throat. You don't want it to spend any time. You want to kind of numb your senses, get your mouth ready, and then the.
Chad says whatever you turned on is causing some interference. So I don't know if you're going through the Wi-Fi or if you're going through cellular. It's quite sweet, hey? Did you get that?
It is. It is. Shouldn't be on the internet.
No.
Is it? I'll just shut it off. Because that's no good.
Just pause it for a moment and see what it does.
It already lost connection anyways.
Oh, yeah. That's the problem of being in a steel building, right?
It's just not the best. Anyways, it doesn't matter. It was just an attempt at something again.
Yeah.
So
it's a shame. That's a shame.
Well, that's all right off the start.
It wasn't offensive.
I had bought a really cheap bottle a month ago just to try and just see. We've had some $100, some $160 bottles, I think, up there.
Yeah.
So I wanted to try a $30, $40 bottle. I mean, it was that one wasn't so great, but this is right uptown with.
Yeah, I mean, I think as far as the flavor goes, the flavor is good. If you can get over that initial burn or bite or whatever, I'll be honest with you, Brian, that smells like pure gasoline kind of moment.
It really does.
If you get by that, it actually seems like it's quite flavorful. Just the tip.
Just the tip.
I don't want too hard of a draw tonight. I had a trip to the dentist today. Dug a hole, filled it in again.
Oh, did he?
Yeah.
Well, that's perfect. Oh man, they smell so good.
Well, we said it was making a crackling, but it's better now. So
it must have been my phone.
That's weird. Toaster up.
I wonder, did you get the rain up there too, Chad, or did you say already?
That is a good cigar, yeah.
If anything smells like a coffee bar in Cuba, it's this.
Well, yeah, and this one I find that the grain truck really isn't there as much as it is with some of the other ones, but it is a very mild, sweet cigar, eh?
Yeah, it's like one that is loved by all. I actually I think it's Cigar Aficionado.
Yeah.
They had like 800 reviews, and I read a bunch of them, but you had to scroll forever before you could find one that was even 3-star.
Oh, really?
I mean, just like really a really well respected cigar.
Yeah.
So. There's something
that's
as well to the band that I didn't quite get into it. Well, 4 or 5 different bands because it's not as decorative as some of them.
No, it's very simple, hey? Just a burgundy with a gold inlay. Burgundy or brown? It's kind of brown, eh?
And even the other ones that are other colors, they're very similar to this, anyways, according to. Anyways, so.
Chad said just snow there. Jeremy was saying he got rain on and off.
Well, we got rain.
Yeah, we had rain all night and well into the morning.
It was like a good 1/8 of an inch of ice on the car window.
Yeah.
Even when I had to scrape the car to come over here.
Well, this morning when I went to go to work, I started the truck 15 minutes before everything heated up. I went out and the ice was still completely ice. Like the window was still completely ice because
Yeah.
it was freezing as quickly as it could melt off, right? So, and the Highway 43 was all just like slushy, and it wasn't slippery or nothing, but it was like,
Okay.
you know, lots of buildup, right? Yeah, that's a damn good cigar. The pairs really nice with bits of floating cork.
That's what makes it. It's one of the things when you're reading it. You can add a bit of cork.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's really good. So I feel we should bring this out too.
Bring that out. Show off.
Well, I mean, you brought it, so it's a little book that Robin brought. I don't know if you can see the cover there, but the Cigar Companion. So what's that all about?
What's the book about?
Yeah,
Well, Stan is a reader.
leaders are readers. Yeah,
Stan has a collection of leather-bound books. He's
yeah.
interested into cigars and scotch.
Got one or two.
What better thing to have for the dash of the pickup instead of TikTok? You can read a
book. Yeah.
a book about cigars. I never even looked in it. So.
Oh, yeah. Okay. Well, let's have a quick peruse here. So there's the story of cigars, the cigar directory. So it's got lots of information about specific cigars, how they're made, the different lengths, the different ring gauges, and then the buying and storing of cigars, which I think is pretty darn important for some folks. You walk into a cigar store and you just see a wall of rolled tobacco, and what do you do with that? And so that's going to provide some insight, as well as, you know, this mad science experiment we got going back on there. We're trying to control the humidity. It's a little dry right now. I think
You're not in ideal. That's the first time.
Yeah. So coming out of the big weather swings we had, we're actually at 60%. I think I have a better luck controlling humidity in my chicken house than I did this thing here the last couple of weeks. But
well, maybe you'll get some tips and trips in that book.
That's probably what I got to do. Well, you know what? We did smoke half a dozen cigars out of there, and there's some void space in there, and maybe that contributes to it. I don't know.
Yeah,
maybe we need to pull some stuff. Any pictures? Yeah, there is actually. There's a lot of pictures in here. It goes right back to the history of tobacco. So there's like basically pictures of tribesmen trading tobacco, all the way through to pictures of the modern tobacco merchants and cigar manufacturers, and all the different pictures of the different types of cigar, different brands of cigar. So yeah, very, very cool book. And
it is also leather too. I don't know.
It's leather.
So
it's a small book, but it's got a ton of information. I think it's going to take me a while to chew through that, actually. So yeah, very excited about that.
I'm gonna have to go back and find out what live that we smoked one of these on, because I don't even remember it. And this is a good cigar.
It's glorious, eh?
What that? What was the gimmick one we had? That was the
tri-band. Alec Bradley?
Yeah, it was. It doesn't matter.
Well, I can find it in here.
I always think back to it. You're like the smoke was so heavy in your mouth, it would almost you'd almost chew it. And this is such a light.
Yeah, it's the Alec Bradley Filthy Hooligan.
Filthy Hooligan. Yeah. That was the smoke from that was just like you said. It was sour cream.
It was like straight diesel fuel.
Amazingly dense.
It was very dense.
This is a very light.
Is so light. Yeah.
It's
yeah.
You know, even that when we're bouncing from the different regions in Scotland, because I think we have Scotch now from all of them. Maybe not Campbelltown. I don't know, but it's so different.
Pause for these important messages. This is what I got from a gift exchange prior to Christmas. This is a little box called Drinks by the Dram, and it is a Regions of Scotland whiskey tasting set. Interesting. And before, when we were going to do the live stream before, this is what we were going to sample. So this cool box comes with 5 different samples. It comes with tasting notes. And within it, I'll just lift the cover here. We've got Glenkinchie. I don't know where that's from, but Lagavulin. We have some Lagavulin here.
Yeah.
We do, yeah. Dalwhinnie. Talisker. We tried Talisker at the Scotch tasting at the Pomeroy, and I definitely thought that was like pure gasoline. And Mortlach, which is also one that I thought was
Taste how it sounds.
quite pungent. Yeah, you betcha. But anyways, yeah. So we're gonna have to do an evening with these. There'd be enough in there. We could do a half
absolutely.
and half, eh? Make a night of it.
Absolutely.
Thought that was pretty cool. So yeah, Drinks by the Dram. They have a website. I assume it's drinksbythedram.com or something like that. But if you just Google Drinks by the Dram, it'll take you to it. And a little thing like that will set you back about $50-$60. And then you don't have to buy a whole bottle. You can just kind of see what's there. So thought that was kind of neat.
That is cool.
Yeah. Almost went out there.
Did it?
Almost.
I thought mine was burning quite rapidly on its own.
There we go.
So we didn't do a poll. We checked back to the last poll we did. Of course, everything got so busy through the holidays just after. We thought, we'll do the second highest in the poll, which was inflation. And then Welderman, I'm not exactly sure who, if he's subscribed to both channels or one, but I seen his comment come up, and I don't know where it was from, but he said talk about the ER. I'm not sure if he actually meant the emergency room situation in Alberta, Canada.
Yeah, could
or
well
he
be.
meant something else. So we're going to flow through. We do have some notes on the inflation thing. Lots of it specific to agriculture.
No,
but
stick to what we know, right?
If we run out of inflation topic, we can blow into there as well.
Yeah.
It certainly hasn't been. It's been interesting to watch. Very scary. Climbing interest rates. You're hearing stories of mortgages going up like 200%.
Well, yeah, you see mortgage payments, like that's a lot of people live by the monthly payment, right? Suddenly, where something that they were stretched is now something that's beyond their capability, right?
Mm-hmm.
So they're having to send it back, right?
So I seen inflation. How is it? So I don't know where I seen this, and for some reason I might even say it was one of Andrew Tate's things. But inflation is based on this breadbasket test, and how many, like, if you can milk and eggs and bread, how much you can buy. Is that
well it is, yeah, to a certain degree, yeah.
like the things you need?
That's a very simplified version of it, but yeah, it is based on to go to market and be able to purchase a certain amount of stuff to survive. What is the cost of that, right? So I always think of that in terms of a bag of groceries, right? So that's kind of where the breadbasket thing comes in, right?
Yeah.
Carmen went to Grand Prairie the other day, and she bought one, whatever, those reusable shopping bags, however big they are, slightly bigger than the ones that are killing the dolphins, but comes home with that, and it's $100, and what's in that bag? It's not steaks, and because we grow all our own.
Mm-hmm.
What's in there is produce, because that's what we really have a struggle with during this time of year, is getting produce, right?
Yep.
So fruit and vegetables, $100 one bag. Fuck, that's tough.
It's shocking, isn't it? When we got moved into the new house, we went out to buy a bunch of stuff for my daughter's birthday party there, and I was standing back, and when I looked up, it was $200 and something for groceries. I thought, oh, that's not even too bad.
Sure.
So I told a few people about it. I was like, oh, it's not even that bad. However, I didn't realize that I was only halfway through. They were only halfway through ringing that in.
Still coming across
$400, and we left with like a cart full of stuff.
Yeah.
And like you say, we have our own. Our meat is all local: lamb, pork, beef. We have our own eggs. We have a tremendous amount of canning.
Yeah.
So you're looking at buying some fresh vegetables and fruits. You're looking at buying milk, some cereal.
Yeah.
Uh, it's kind of it. It's shocking.
Just the fillers, right? You just the fillers is all that it is, and your grocery bill could still be that high.
Yeah, it's amazing. You buy a little bit of bread, some of those tortilla wraps and things like that, and it's just a lot.
Yeah. Well, I remember we said that in some of the early live streams. We talked a little bit about the cost of living and how the price of groceries was going to go. I think at that point in time when we first started doing this, the price of groceries for a family of 4 was around $14,000. And throughout 2021, the price increased to $15,000, and now it's $16,500, almost $17,000. Right. So crazy increase over the course of the year, right? Yeah. So 7%, like that's almost, well, it hasn't, we haven't been at the 7% since late 80s, really, right? And previous to that would have been the mid 1970s, right before everything kind of tanked, right? But if you look at our the inflationary trend that occurred during the 1980s, of course, it peaked up, come back down right around 1985, and then continued to slowly decline right around to about 1998. And then 1998, everything kind of, for the most part, stabilized. There was obviously that occurred in 2000, late 2007, early 2008, when the mortgage crisis, like all that all tanked because they were gambling money they didn't have, essentially, right? But for the most part, like there's a ton of us now that we've never really actually experienced this, right? Like never in our lives. Even some folks that, they're 50, 60 years old now. They might have been a kid during the 80s when everything tanked. During their whole working career, like it's been gold, essentially. It's only ever actually gotten better up until the last 2 years.
Yeah,
it's kind of a scary place to be, right?
It really is,
because it's unwitnessed risk, right? You don't really know what's about to happen.
No,
it's not predictable at this point, right?
No, and even one thing I noticed when you watch things like grain prices or stock prices, the swings are so massive, the volatility, and I'm not sure if that's due to, I guess it's due to everything, right? The uncertainty in national banks, in global banks, inflation, interest rates, supply and demand. But even so, when we started growing oats again, my dad didn't grow oats for years, and I was like 24 hauling oats for the neighbor.
Yeah.
And I was like, I'm gonna get some seed from you. I'm gonna grow oats again. A really, really good price for oats was like $2.65 a bushel.
Yeah.
And you would hold out, say, I'm not gonna sell them in September. I'll sell them in February. You'd hold out for $2.70. That's what you'd hold out for.
That was the golden ticket right there, right?
And if you were, flush enough, you could hold out till June. You get like $2.85.
You'd probably be hungry by June, though.
We're seeing swings of like 40, 50 cents a day.
Yeah.
Now.
Yeah.
Just right, like say it would take things a whole year to move 15 cents.
Well, that's just grain. Like, I mean, you see that in every commodity now. Like even just the price of fuel, right? If you think about, okay, well, I got to put diesel in my tractor to go put seed in the ground or harvest or whatever it is, whatever activity you got to do that day. And I mean, it's a roll of the dice what the price of fuel is going to be that day.
It really is.
Like we would literally, like I remember as a kid, we would see, okay, it's going to go, the price would go from like 28.9 to 28.8, maybe back up to 30.1 or something like that over the course of a few months. Now you see a 40-cent increase overnight in a liter of fuel.
Shocking.
So when you put in 1,000, like what would be benchmarked to $1,000 worth of fuel, now you go up 40 cents a liter. Hell, suddenly,
it is.
Suddenly, I mean, that's affecting your bottom line big time, right? And then you wonder why. Well, I mean, you have to pass it. Like somebody's got to eat that, right?
But so that's another thing I wonder. Now, Peace Country, Grand Prairie especially, is an anomaly. It doesn't matter what happens globally. Doesn't matter what happens in the oil patch. It thrives.
It does.
I mean, unfortunately, there's the few that get laid off, but not like anywhere else. I mean, when the oil patch dies in Southwest Saskatchewan, they're laid off. Every one of them.
Yeah.
Grand Prairie, there's still pipeline, and there's still the odd rig standing somewhere.
If you have guys parked for 3 months in Grand Prairie, you can guarantee somebody's been sitting for 2.5 years in Medicine Hat.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So I always wonder because the limited trips I take to town, it doesn't seem like anybody's struggling. No. I joked with my wife there about, I don't know, maybe 4 or 5 weeks ago. I said, I wonder if they even bring in a base model vehicle in Grand Prairie anymore.
I doubt it.
Because if you go to Chevy, it's all Denali's. If you go to Ford, it's all King Ranch and Platinums. And if you go to Dodge, it's all high whatever. It's all the high trim packages. You don't even see
I stopped at Canadian Tire yesterday or day before. Anyways, doesn't matter what day it was. And there was a Hutterite family parked in that parking lot with a brand new Denali pickup. And I thought, why would that be? Why would that be?
Oh, well, yeah. I don't know. Maybe they like nice things.
Maybe that's all they can get, though. Maybe that's all they're bringing in, right? But regardless, yeah, there's a ton of greed, and again, there's a lot of greed at the. It's not at the highest level, and it's not at the lowest level. It's the middleman. There's a lot of bureaucracy, like land agents, seed agents, fertilizer, all these guys that just provide a service. They find solutions to problems you didn't know you had. Those guys, they're the snakes in the grass, if you ask me. Milking everybody for everything.
There is I was having this discussion with a couple that came to pick up some grain yesterday, and they were talking about just kind of the way that all went. I mean, we had a feed mill in Grand Prairie shut down and move out, which it left a space for a void to be filled. However, until that got filled, or until it gets filled by another large feed mill that comes in and offers these services like pelletized grains and things, the ones that can get it, now you're farming it out. You're trying to buy it from Central Alberta. The grain's got to be shipped there. The product has to be created. It has to be shipped back. Everybody along the way needs 10, 15, 20%. By the time it gets back to the end user, the prices are so inflated from the base cost of what it actually is worth.
We used to call that coin clipping.
Well, it's really, really bad right now.
Yeah. It's like organized crime almost, right? Like everybody gets a piece, but unfortunately, that piece is, like you say, it's 15%.
And I was thinking about this the other day. I mean, I don't begrudge a lot of stores in town. I mean, we do try to shop local as much as we can. Unfortunately, Amazon and things have made things so efficient and so easily accessible, and then cheaper to boot.
Yeah,
you just you can't. The population now can't shoulder the brunt of what the city takes to exist.
No,
and that's so the city turns around and they jack the price of your taxes, your utilities, any services, garbage and things. Your parking spaces, all of this stuff. It's tremendous what they have to pay. Then they got employees on top of that. They got all sorts of insurances. But I know the general population is getting tired of taking that burden on.
But there's, and it's not just the cities. I mean, it's on a larger scale too. But it's just such incredible, I don't know what you would call it, but like incredible waste that nobody seems to bat an eye about. You see that lots in city. Okay, we're gonna put up a $200,000 art exhibition, and it's like a steel sculpture or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
What purpose does that serve? Like how is that going to generate that much volume of tourism to pay for that ever? Right. So it's inequitable. I don't know if you watched the news here in the last 2 days, what's going on with the deputy PM going to the Senate and asking for $2 billion.
I watched that this morning.
There's how can we lend you $2 billion, or how can you take $2 billion and invest in a company that doesn't even exist? And I watched her, and she's replied, she's like, Senator, you are the, and I was like, oh, what's she gonna say? Like, she could just tell there's something real mean on the end of her tongue, because she's busted, like straight up busted, right? But there's just this lack of financial oversight from top to bottom within this country, right?
It is sad because I had seen the next thing, and I should have read more into it. I mean, maybe before I bring it up, but the city of Grand Prairie is going to invest $115,000 to, and it seemed to me the way it was worded, to see if they should build a climbing wall.
Yeah, you got to pay money just to think about it.
I think probably we're good on the climbing wall. Yeah. I mean, I don't know if anybody's been to Grand Prairie in the last little. There's everything there.
Yeah,
there's like a water park. I didn't really know that existed until I took the kids to went to actually when Corey's car got hit. Like I seen it. Like at the where you report when your car crashed.
Eastlink Center.
No, over there.
Yeah.
There's a whole water park there. There's enough. There's a big one out in the county.
Yeah.
There's a lot to do. I don't know if we need to.
Probably don't need another one.
And then I was thinking, how much would it cost to build it? You could probably build a pretty nice climbing wall for $115,000. So why not just build it instead of doing the study?
You give me $115,000, and I will show you the climbing wall.
Right, that's what I don't understand, and that's the way it was worded. Like I said, I should have read into the article a little bit more, but I mean, a lot of that stuff to me is just it's irritating, and I don't care that much. But it was worded, basically a feasibility study if this should be done or not.
Yeah,
we spent $115,000.
Yeah,
let's just spend $115,000 and build it.
That's right.
Right, or better yet, leave that to the private sector.
Yeah.
I mean, we got the fun park, and we got the jump yard, and we got
let the business sustain itself. Well, you won't find that in a leisure facility. There's not a leisure facility in this planet, I think, that sustains itself. They're all for loss, right? There's none that are for profit. That's why they always struggle with hours and staffing and do all this stuff, because they can barely keep the doors open, right?
Yeah.
They have major cash flow issues. Like, just to make to the end of their operating budget at the end of the year is reliant on a tax increase for next year, right? So,
but maybe we have too much. I mean, like, it seems like every family that has a kid, they want $1 million worth of facilities for their kid to be built where they're at. I mean, you look at every small town now needing a new arena. Well, I mean, in our area, we got the biggest embarrassment and disaster ever in the town on glass. That thing's never going to
get finished. Yeah.
Right, and because it got started, then we had every other town. Well, we should get one. We should get one. And
we all need one. Yeah,
they all need engineers to pull in and claim things like the one in Hythe is just not that great. Well, it's fine for the 800 people that live in Hythe.
Gord Bamford and Paul Brandt can only put on so many concerts to raise money for your frickin' hockey arena.
I mean, and that's a total sin, because of all the places that I've ever played hockey and all the arenas I've ever been to, if you're going to build one, and probably the glass was
probably should have been bottom of the list.
Well, I would say if you're going to build it, should have been the top. Their arena's finished. It was finished when I was little.
Oh, well, whatever.
Now, do they actually need one?
Do they need it? Do they need that that dollar amount of arena?
Well, they think everything's that expensive, of course. Now
Wayne Gretzky's not living there.
Well, that's very true. But now what do they got? We got I don't know how many hundreds of thousands, if not a million or two, has been pumped into it, and it's gonna. I mean, it will. I expect to remain vacant. I mean, I know they all thought that the oil companies would come.
Oh yeah,
but I mean, those guys are getting hired too. Now, should they build it? I don't know. Maybe they should. Maybe they shouldn't. I don't know.
Any large corporation within a community should probably contribute to things that benefit the community. But from a business perspective, you also have to think, how does this benefit the community? And if there's not a real community need there, it's really difficult to sit back and support it, right?
That is true.
So what do we miss for comments here? Chad said some of this inflation is corporate greed. Call cows finally hit $1 this week, but burgers damn near $7 in the store. Somebody's making a buttload on my cows. Oh yeah. The auctioneer, the packing plant, the grocery store.
I just had that conversation.
All those people, right? That's all those middlemen, right? Robin Tangadol said product shrinkage is also happening. So we're paying more and the product sizes have decreased. A can of tuna 20 years ago was 10 ounces, and now they're under 6 ounces. That's a really interesting comparison because most people wouldn't think about a can of tuna. That wouldn't be the first thing that slips into mind. I mean, what got smaller since you were a kid?
A lot of people don't think about this at all.
Not at all.
One of the funny things I seen on TikTok was they're talking about how you, being grown up means that you put back a pack of chicken because there's a cheaper one over here.
Yeah.
And the funny thing was it's all based on
Based
it's all
on
different
weight.
because it's all the same, but it's
Yeah.
And I had my eyes open with cheese.
Yeah.
Like,
Great. What's a block of cheese worth these days?
Well, and here's the thing: you can never know.
How long
You're never gonna know because I had told my wife to stop buying it because I'm the only one that likes it and I don't like it that much.
Yeah.
I like to spend $24.99 on a block of cheese. I'm good. I mean, I'll get my joy somewhere else, right?
Yeah, but it's really is one of those how long is a piece of string questions. Like how much is a block of cheese? It's like
there's no answer.
There isn't an answer to it.
And when you're starting to look, it's this is like $14.99 and this is $8.99, but this is 570 grams and this is 850 grams.
Yeah.
And then there's the block that's
they're all different kinds. They make it impossible to actually put an apple beside an apple and measure it.
It was enough stress to just leave it.
Yeah.
Good enough.
Yeah.
Moving on. We'll get a block of marble cheese for whatever, a block of old cheese for
$14, and hopefully it lasts. There are a few stores that on their price tags they will actually say this is our price per 100 grams or this is our price per pound or whatever. I like those stores because then you can, as a consumer, you can actually kind of do a little bit of math, make a conscientious decision right there in the aisle, right? As opposed to just be completely confounded and just grab whatever you think is going to be good and shit yourself when you get to the till kind of thing, right? But
on our that Facebook page we had set up for buying local meat and produce and things, I've done some breakdowns on pork and beef and what you get out of a full animal, depending on how it's cut in half, but the way we did it.
Yep.
And a lot of that for me too. I mean, because I do pay attention a lot. I mean, you do as well. But when you go to look things up on the internet, you have to know that, right? That it's all based on per 100 grams. So and I wonder how many of the just everyday consumers they just put no thought into it. Just like groceries cost what they cost, and we'll figure it out.
Yeah, guys got to eat.
But when you're walking through somewhere and it's what is it? I think $80 a pound or something I seen.
Yeah.
For tenderloin,
yeah.
And I just was just like, this is nuts. That might have been on the internet or whatever.
That's a real number, and that is like it's disgusting.
And then, there was the last shopping experience I had. It was actually at Save On in Grand Prairie, and I always like to look at the meat because I guess just to realize how truly blessed you are to have 2 stand-up freezers, a big chest freezer, a small chest freezer full of lamb, chicken, beef, pork, buffalo, whatever you want, every cut.
Yeah.
And I was talking to some people, and they were like just shocked. A younger guy and an older couple. And I mean, really not the place to do a sales pitch, but I asked them. I said, "Why don't you guys shop local? Why don't you buy farm direct?
Yeah.
I mean, you have access to arguably some of the best meat available.
100%.
I mean, the Alberta beef is champion. We have the weather to keep away the parasites.
Yeah.
Our animals always look good if they're looked after. The meat quality is high end, top notch stuff, and it's readily available. We have excellent butchers. We don't have a slaughterhouse, but we have excellent butchers.
Yeah.
Well, there's an uncertainty around it.
You're gonna buy a cow that's how many, you come home with 800 pounds of meat, say. Well, what do I do with that?
But even that, right? That's what people think. And I told them, I said, well, there's a ton of producers that are raising miniature animals.
Yeah.
They're raising smaller carcass weight animals.
Yeah.
So, you might phone somebody and what I got a 1,000-pound Angus. Probably a little bit much for a couple in retirement.
Sure.
Well, maybe somebody has an animal that just has 300 pounds.
Well, I've always wondered, like, okay, well, you live on the cul-de-sac or wherever you live. Let's go together.
Heaven forbid you
you
meet
know,
your neighbor.
let's go this 4 or 5 ways on this, and we all cooperate, and we all win, right? We all get a bit of steak, we all get a bit of hamburger, we all get a roast or two.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe one guy gets an extra pack of hamburger, and another guy gets an extra whatever stew meat or something like that. But figure it out, be adults, and we all win, right? And a lot of butchers are pretty, a lot of butchers are really open to this too. Like they say, split this thing 5 ways, and they'll just do it all right in the store, and you come pick it up, right?
It's done, right? It's done.
Easy. It's really, really easy.
But there's that, it's.
Yeah, Robin says cereal boxes have really shrunk. I pointed this out last year because we got the cold room, so we keep, at any given time, there's probably a year's worth of groceries sitting on the farm, at least. And so I had a regular box of Cheerios, which was like 907 grams. And then I had the family size box that I had recently purchased that was 100 grams lighter than the regular box. Like, and this is the family size. Well, what is it, a family of 2? Like, it's a really small family we're running here. So
maybe they're expecting us all to get some smaller portions.
Maybe, and that's portion control. That's where it's at, right? But, I always joked is when you grow up, okay, well the wagon wheels they got tiny. Oh no, you just got bigger. No, they got really tiny. Same with Cadbury's cream eggs. I remember as a kid, that would fill your hand, like
a shocking amount of icing.
It was a lot of what is it, nougat or I don't know whatever's in there, but caramel cream or whatever, and you'd have to gag that down. Now it's just like pop it in and it's gone, right?
Yeah.
And I even a favorite treat of mine, because growing up in England, like we would always get Terry's chocolate oranges, right? You whack it and you unwrap it. That's the thing, right? I get one for Christmas this year. I whack it and I peel it open, and I'm like, the orange segments are indented, so they've actually taken chocolate out from inside the orange that you would never ever see from the outside. And I thought, man, like that's crazy. You went to all the expense to change the molds of the chocolate and then put it all back together, and nobody's going to notice. Absolutely. And that's that corporate greed piece, right? Everybody's they're just coin clipping. They're all just skimming off the top, right? So
that is a tremendous amount of bullshit.
Yeah.
When you're seeing packaging, I guess, in itself not change, and the product inside, become way less. We got those, everybody has them, the cracker with the chocolate on top, and they would use them for making s'mores. Anyways, there's these
like a chocolate digestive or
something like that.
Or you're talking like a Leclerc with it's like an orange box or whatever.
I got the wagon wheel on it or something, like a wagon, picture of a wagon. I think that might be.
I think that's what it is. Yeah.
But yeah, the ones in the middle are the plastic is raised up. So where there's 3 or 4 crackers in a stack on the outside, the one in the middle only has 1 or 2.
Yeah.
I was just shocked. I was saying even razors. I seen Gillette razors. They come in, I think the pack of 5 or whatever, and in the big box but then the last one, it's still the pack of 5, but there's only 2 razors.
There's just nothing in there, just an empty slot. We're just going to use these ones up. Pot of gold chocolate. The two layers, just 1 layer now.
Just 1 layer. I didn't even see those this year. I tried to buy one of those just to keep the history, the nostalgia of Christmas going, but I didn't.
Well, we always get Quality Street. That's our big thing, right? Now things just right full of fucking toffee pennies now. Just the cheapest chocolates they can put in. They're not even chocolate, right? It's just toffees.
I get them in bulk at the Save on Foods.
Oh, really? You just get a big bag or whatever. Yeah. You just pick through and get whatever ones you want.
Well, I don't, because I like them all, but I get a big bag.
Yeah, 700 grams of strawberry creams. There you go.
So because I seen a funny thing on the internet too, where somebody categorized their Quality Street box. It was pretty funny. I don't quite
categorize it, but I'll open it and I'll shake it and I'll eat all the coconuts first, because they're pretty much the worst thing in that box. I'll get them out of the way, and then I'll switch to the orange creams because they burn, and then I'll go to the strawberry creams, and then
that is a damn fine box of chocolates.
The pralines, the hazelnut, whatever that green triangle hazelnut thing. That's where it's at.
I mean, this doesn't have anything to do with inflation here. This next
No,
bit,
no,
but
we're on a
these,
total tangent. But
my mom bought a box of chocolates. She brought it. I actually threw it away.
what?
Why would anyone make shit that tasted that way?
Oh, was that bad or what?
Even my little boy ate one and spit it out.
Oh, wow.
It tasted like vomit. And I'm reading through, and it's supposed to be all, coffee and this, and it tasted like puke.
Oh,
Every one of them. I tried 3 or 4 different ones. I stomached a few, and the last one I was like, this life's too short.
this is just terrible, hey?
Well, why? Like, yet again, you want to meet people that buy these and like them, and just find out what happened to them in their lives to make them this way.
Show me in the doll where he touched
Right?
you, right? You're
Because
so
this-
traumatized that you'd actually put this in your body.
I would take one of those piece of shit Easter kids chocolates any day over that box of chocolates.
The Mr. Crunchies.
I just couldn't imagine making it. It just boggles my mind that how people seem to be baffled into enjoying overpriced shit that's awful.
That's terrible. Absolutely
Right?
terrible.
I mean, I've seen a couple quick thing Facebook feeds or TikToks or whatever. Celebrity chefs is another big one. Like, does anybody believe this shit? Right? I mean, they're coming out and they're laying all this shit on there, telling you it's worth. It looks like puke, probably tastes like
yeah,
puke.
it probably tastes terrible.
Right? And they're like, well, I'm a Michelin star chef. I don't give a shit. That sucks.
Yeah, that
But
sucks.
because you
There's
have
this much of it.
because you have an influence, everybody just flocks to it, and they're
Yeah.
like, I'd be highly offended if somebody dribbled all the salt down their hairy fucking arm onto my food.
You don't want to go to Salt Bay restaurant?
There would be no chance I would
Yeah.
want to eat that steak.
What a choreographed farce that is, eh? Like,
And I mean, maybe this could segue into inflation because we have no problem. Well, it seems we have no problem idolizing spending $800 for someone to flop around like a fish and put the most repulsive duck confit and shit on your plate, duck foam, and love that.
that's not even. Yeah, it's not even edible.
But it's big. There's money for that. That's inflation-proof business.
Well, everybody's going broke trying to look rich, right? That's definitely a thing.
Yeah.
I mean, it's tough to say that out loud as you and I are wearing suits and smoking cigars and drinking whiskey.
Same, but different.
Yeah, it's exactly the same, only way different. Yeah.
These are direct from Cuba.
Well, there's also the difference between an infrequent treat and I need my $7 Starbucks every single day. Right?
Yeah.
I can't pay my rent, but I'm gonna get this
That follows
20 ounces of ice and about this much of fruit juice, right?
I mean, I know you're passionate about avocados too. How did that ever become a thing?
Yeah, I'm not a big fan of that.
Who would ever spread that
yeah.
on anything? This is an unedible piece of food.
Yeah, you get a narrow window where this thing is it's somewhat palatable, but beyond that, it's like completely rotten and disgusting.
And gotta have it. Why?
Deforest half the freaking planet just to grow it.
Did you ever read the story of spinach and the marketing that went with that? They had made an error about how much whatever that would make you strong was in this.
Oh, because of Popeye back
They had
in the
made
day?
an error. Before they could correct the error, Popeye already existed.
Well, let's just
So
run
then
with
it
it.
just ran with it. But
Yeah.
apparently it's no better than anything else.
It's probably no different than any other green, like a salad green.
Now, did I do all my due diligence and actually chase this story down? Absolutely not, because that I found interesting. The marketing behind it was just amazing. And the marketing behind this stuff is driving people into the poorhouse.
Oh, for sure.
They can't go anywhere without their Nutella, whatever. They can't do anything with, it's got to be. We have friends that had to get their peanut butter from the health food store.
They almost can't function without something being.
I was like, okay,
Yeah.
well.
Because it's that much better, right?
I'm sure your 3-year-old doesn't give a shit.
No, the health benefit that you perceive coming off of whatever that product is not equal to the negative consequence of all the cost, right? Even just the fact that you have to go out and bust your balls for another 6 hours just to pay for that organic peanut butter
Mm-hmm.
or whatever it is, takes years off your life that organic peanut butter cannot put back on.
Absolutely. So how does all this exist then? Like, we're still exposed to this. We know people that do this. We know stories of this. If things are so bad and they've been so bad for so long. When I still lived in town, I remember, watching the news every morning, and it was shocking how many times. So this is what, like, let's say 5 years ago, how many times they would say 50% of Canadians are 8 weeks away from insolvency.
Yeah.
50% of Canadians have whatever. 80% of Canadians, and now we're 5 years down the road. Things have only gotten worse. Wages haven't kept up. Utilities have gone up. Mortgage payments have gone up. Car insurance, from what I don't know if it actually did go up or not. I don't look at that. And we're still, are we still 50% of Canadians are 8 weeks away from insolvency?
Oh yeah.
So, like, who got this all wrong? Like, by my calculation, if the news was right, everybody in Canada should have been broke like 3 years ago.
Well, your wages all went up too, right? So of course, minimum wage is now like $15 an hour.
Yeah, I think so.
From what was not that many years ago, like $7.50 or something like that, right? So it's doubled. So people are better off. People do have a good cash flow. Largely, the population has a good cash flow situation, right? They're able to bankroll themselves to stay, this far above water essentially at all times. But nobody's ever had a real wake up call. I shouldn't say nobody, but very few people have ever had a real wake up call where, like, especially in Grand Prairie. You imagine a guy you lose your job. Are you out of work for 2 weeks in Grand Prairie?
Well, you wouldn't have to be.
Not unless you're incredibly lazy,
Mm-hmm.
right? There are, of course, parts of Canada where that has legitimately been the case, where people sat, and especially we saw that during the pandemic. But of course, even that was a very, very short-lived recession. It wasn't.
Yeah.
It wasn't even comparable to 2008 during the mortgage crisis. Certainly not comparable to what happened in the 1980s, right? So, and then of course government stimulus or whatever. Well, of course what happened in the pandemic. Of course, they stimulated the economy, and that was like too much, too aggressive, right? We take on a lot of national debt, and yeah, Chad thinks this is gonna repeat. Well, will the 80s repeat itself? No. I don't think the 80s are going to repeat themselves, because what happened in the 80s is not what's happening right now. What happened in the 80s is kind of backwards what happened now. The Bank of Canada, which is like the national bank, of course, right? They printed money, right? Whereas in the 80s, what actually happened is they increased interest rates to get ahead of the money. It was kind of in reverse what it is right now.
Yeah.
Whereas you've almost got people in the banking industry that are complicit and almost colluding with whatever theory is occurring at the highest political level in this country. I don't know what that's going to look like, but like actually going along with and empowering these poor financial decisions at the highest level, right? Like, why would you ever, when interest rates are near zero, start printing money like that? That's like, it's like literally just striking a match and throwing it at gasoline. So honestly, I heard a thing the other day about like the governor of the Bank of Canada, and how like he should be fired. And I 100% absolutely agree. Right? If you're how many $1 trillion are we in debt right now?
Oh, like a whole bunch.
Like a whole bunch of $1 trillion.
Because it was shocking to me. I think you had asked me that question once before, and I didn't know it was even $1 trillion.
Yeah, like I think it's like $2.5 trillion. Like it's a crazy number. Like it's an incomparable number. Like I don't even know how many zeros that is. I think it's like 9 zeros.
So it's a bunch.
It's a whole bunch. Yeah, it's a whole bunch. And when you look at that, why would you make more? Why would you make more of something you don't have?
Well, yeah, it seems like, shocking. And then when you pay attention, well, I guess it's what they tell you about where the money's going too is. I was talking to some people about it, and I mean, nobody likes taxes, right? Nobody does, but I get it. I'm a big fan of roads.
Nobody likes
We're-
taxes, but everybody likes social programs.
right? We're you know, I mean, we're using the medical system here this week. We will be in another 2 weeks.
Yeah.
So I'm very grateful that I don't have to mortgage anything to do this.
You need roads, you need hospitals, you need schools.
However, when you get to find out how many millions, tens of millions, hundreds of millions, even billions of dollars are being just hemorrhaged into shit that most of us will never ever even understand, it starts to get a little bit raw on the backs of the working class.
Yeah.
When you think like that's a whole bunch of tax money that's so far removed from anything I'll ever be involved in. And I don't think that's selfish at all to say you can be charitable as a country and you can help out others, that's fine. But when you have mountains of your own problems, inequity in your own country,
Yeah.
why hemorrhage so much money? Then, you know, when as interest rates go up, you would think most people would cut, governments included. Let's trim some of this, right? Because we owe $1 trillion.
Yeah.
You know, owing $1 trillion at, you know, prime plus 1 is fine, but owing $1 trillion at seven, that's a whole bunch worse. And you don't, and like you just said, this inept spending.
You can manage some of that though with qualitative easing, right? So you purchase, like the Bank of Canada purchases government bonds basically to prop up the dollar. That works, but then when the government then in turn makes bad investments with those bonds, okay, well let's print $2 billion and spend it on a company that doesn't exist. Like you can't make that stuff up.
Well, I'm interested because I don't know how long that particular situation has been going on.
Just a couple of days here, yeah.
I'm very interested to see how much we can let slide. I mean, there's not a lot you can do, you know, until election time. But I just wonder, come election time, how much the general population is going to be willing to let slide. Because there's always things. I mean, I'm very centrist.
Yeah.
There's always things that come up. But what's been coming up lately, and what has you know, it's shocking that there could still be really any support, at least in my eyes. It's just very, very bad.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I can even say it, you know, as angry as people, like, there's been the odd good thing, right? I mean, not everybody's wrong. Even a broken clock's right twice a day.
Sure, but I mean, at the end of the day, I can see borrowing money. I can see carrying national debt with a time frame in mind. If you could say, okay, well, we're gonna go in debt, and it's okay within 5 years we're gonna have it paid back, or within 10 years, or within 20 years even. But once you get beyond that and you start thinking, okay, well, our children are gonna pay for this. You got to be like, there's something that's got to happen in the back of your head. Be like, this is not a good decision. We are in a bad position economically. We need to get out of here, right? And I don't know why that doesn't occur. It just drives me wild. It absolutely drives me wild.
Yeah, it is. It's shocking.
Chad says, "Oh, to stop spending, I think we'll see interest rates go up." Yeah, you will. You will see interest rates go up. There's two things you're going to see. Interest rates are going to go up, and all this land value that's, I don't know, what's a quarter of land worth now? Almost $400,000 in some areas.
Yeah, you're pretty much looking right around, I think, that $3,000.
Yeah, that's gonna come down.
So
all that equity that a lot of folks have tied up in land that they're using to basically float the boat, that's going to decrease.
You know, that's a big thing too. I was talking about that with somebody else the other day. How did so I was watching The Big Short the other day, and they were talking about those credit default swaps and things like that. That was the reason why the housing market crashed the way it did, because those shit like that.
It's all hedge funds, right?
It shouldn't even exist.
Yeah.
These risks and these ways to play the market shouldn't exist.
Yeah.
The stock market as a whole should be very simple. You have a business, you have a startup, you have a good idea, you need some money, people give you money, then you decide what you're going to do. Either your share value goes up, they can sell, you pay dividends, whatever. Very simple.
That's right.
There shouldn't be shorts and longs and puts and calls and all this other shit that most people like to think they understand but really don't.
Yeah, I know.
That's why you have the same individuals coming on every 6 months saying you're going to see the biggest crash in the history of the world in 2023, followed then by the contrarian.
Yeah.
Like, it's just like, because nobody really understands this. They tell you they do, and yeah, some of them are right. Right, the guy in The Big Short, he was right. He made whatever his $100 billion betting against the market.
That's
I think he's been wrong on everything ever since.
Yeah, he's got a broken clock theory, right?
So
he's wrong until he's right. Eventually, he'll be right. But
what we've allowed farmers to do, and I'm not big into telling people what they can do. People should be able to do what they want.
Yeah.
However, how did you get to be able to take a quarter of land that maybe you inherited? Right, because this part of the country is very new. Even the country as a whole is very new. There's land that I know of people have gotten only one generation away with the Homestead Act.
That's right.
They didn't, or the VLA Act. They didn't pay for it.
Didn't pay for it. Yeah, yeah.
Now it's worth $370,000. You can go in and borrow that whole amount against it.
Yeah.
It's never been worth that. It shouldn't be worth that now. And now you've borrowed against that.
Yeah.
That happens.
That's no different. That's no different than printing money.
It is. So you walk in and right away you borrow, something you paid $80,000 for. 3 years later, you go borrow $360,000 against it.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, it's amazing too. Like, public titles are public record, or land titles are public.
Public record. Yeah. Yeah.
And it will show you mortgage on it.
You know what's strange about that is so maybe you paid $0, maybe you paid the $26 to register the title, whatever it was back in the day. And now that land is worth, theoretically on the market, $350. You go and you borrow $350 against it. You don't actually own that land, eh?
No.
A lot of people don't realize, well, I own this land. No, you don't. You own the title to the land, but you don't actually own the land. The land is not actually yours. The land still belongs to the crown. And the crown only holds the land because of the treaties. So that's a very volatile, vulnerable situation. All this.
It is.
What is now $700,000 a quarter, because that's what it's theoretically worth, and you borrowed against it, right?
Mm-hmm.
To think that you could still be left with absolutely nothing should make you think. Right?
And it's the whole race to the bottom. Why do we borrow against the land? Why do we borrow the maximum amount at an inflated price? All because we want to buy fertilizer, we want to buy that Denali truck, and we want to buy that new combine. So why does the combine now worth $400,000 or $500,000 and it was worth 4 years ago? The technology changed slightly. That's undeniable. Capacity-wise, it got slightly bigger.
Yeah.
You didn't get $400,000 more value.
The cost of manufacturing didn't increase that much, nor did the value return increase that much.
The fertilizer didn't change almost at all. There's been some minor tweaks in technology, some slow-release nitrogen and things like that. It's still coming out of the same hole in the same ground.
That's right.
It's largely mined the same way with some, technological advances on that end as well. But the only reason, and when you said printing money, that's all you're doing. Like you said, when you borrow against the land that way, you're just printing money.
Yeah.
And the only person stupid is the individual borrowing against the land like that, because somebody else is going to take that money. It's not like you can borrow against it and now you have that money.
Oh, exactly.
It's gone instantly, and now you really don't own the land you already didn't own.
No, exactly. There's two things you don't own.
Like
you don't own your land, and you don't own your debt, and you don't own whatever you purchase with that debt.
But it's shocking. I think that they said they had the stress tests for mortgages and things like that, and fortunately, in my working life, anyways, I at 17 I started on the drilling rigs. I didn't really have high expectations. I didn't need extravagant shit, so nothing really bothered me. When it came time to buy a house, I had money to put a big down payment.
Yeah.
So I never had to look into things. I'm sure it was all happening.
Yeah.
But there was never an issue where they said, okay, well this is why it won't work. You didn't make this. It was just, so I never paid attention to all of this stuff. And I'm kind of wishing now I would have followed things a little bit better.
Yeah.
Because I don't understand how there's been so much stuff pushed through. I heard a story the other day. There was an older lady who lost her job. So they went on CERB, whatever, EI, whatever it was. They couldn't get approved for a mortgage. Working full time, they could get approved for a mortgage on EI.
Really?
shocking.
That is shocking.
Like,
yeah.
how does our system work at all? I don't begrudge this lady a home.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know what she was making on EI versus what she was making full time, but on the surface, that doesn't seem quite right.
It's shocking. It's shocking to hear. And then when you do hear those stories, it's very easy to be like, yeah, I get it. I get it why things aren't good.
Yeah,
The system is so broken.
sure.
Like terribly, terribly broken. Vehicles.
Yeah,
People are really excited to buy vehicles that cost over $100,000.
Yeah.
They're like really excited
like,
about it.
pumped for it.
They're not just like, okay, I need a vehicle. This will suit my needs the best. It's a little expensive. We'll go ahead and do it. They're really championing this lunatic idea of effectively having a mortgage.
That's the status symbol
On a
thing, though,
vehicle.
right? Like that's what it is. It's a status symbol. Is that number is
Because there's one thing to do it. There's one thing to need to do it, have a reason to do
Yeah.
it. And then there's a whole nother to really be excited about it and be happy about it.
Yeah.
And we have too much going on with people who are just too carefree, and they're really excited. They live the whole yesterday's history, tomorrow's a mystery lifestyle.
Yeah.
And that's
just
good. Whatever it takes.
throw her up in the air and however they land,
I
right?
couldn't do that.
No. I was gonna see if my band would peel off, but it looks like it's really well glued to my wrapper.
Mine was loose from the get-go.
Well, it's loose except for like
Mine come right off.
right there. So it really wants to take the wrapper with it. So I'm just gonna have to.
That's probably very taboo to rip it.
I'm just gonna let her sit and whatever
Well,
happens.
you tried that scotch first without the water. What did you think after you added some water here halfway through? Didn't you?
I did. I added a drop just to try and tame the spice down a little bit.
I find this a damn good scotch right off the start.
You know, for a $45 free bottle of scotch with a half a cork, I actually think it's quite good.
It is really
I mean,
good
I
scotch.
don't know how many years they had it. Maybe that's why. Maybe it just sat in the porch or whatever, and that just disintegrated. I'm not sure. Not sure what the circumstance is, but it's good. It's good. Like, it's not bad.
Should have laid it in the humidor or get the cork nice and soft.
Yeah, maybe.
I don't know if that's how that works.
Well, I think who knows if it's even real cork, right? There's a whole thing like the global shortage of cork or whatever, right? There's nothing on the planet there's not a shortage of.
I had a pretty good laugh. So I got the tractor in the shop, and I'm getting pretty close to done. I want to rewire.
Yeah, the old caulk shop.
The window's coming, so I opened it up, and in between, like, there's the two that are the same size sandwiched together.
Yeah.
There's about 1,000 little square cork pieces in there.
So she doesn't break.
And I thought, like, I mean, that's great, but the first thing I thought is with the global cork shortage,
Yeah.
you think like bubble wrap would have been sufficient? It's like a spit in the face of the wine and scotch industry.
Yeah.
Like we know there's a shortage. We don't give a shit.
Yeah.
We're gonna put as much cork as we want in between two pieces of glass. Which, I mean, you could have sandwiched them together. It would have been just as fine,
Just
right?
a giant fuck you, eh?
You know, it's all wrapped in cardboard. And they're like, why not just put cardboard in between?
Yeah, cardboard, it's polyurethane foam, whatever, right?
My wife told me this is going in a tractor. We don't want good glass or whatever. Even scrap is good, just not cracked. It doesn't even matter if it's clean.
Yeah.
If you got a piece big enough, and it just was just like, I just couldn't believe it. Right? Yet again, the stupidity.
Just
of
having
everything.
free cork just laying around the window shop.
That's what it seemed to be.
Yeah.
Like, they were all nice. You know, it must come in a huge pre-cut slab, and they
tripping over it in the hallway.
And they put a lot, like way too many. You know, I mean, the windows weren't that big. You could have probably got away with 8. There's probably 4 dozen.
Yeah.
It took me like an hour to peel them all
off. Yeah.
And I thought, there's like literally anything else you could have done. You could have went to Bed Bath & Beyond because they're going broke and got a towel and laid it in there.
I went in there yesterday because I had read the thing on this, and I'm like, I'm gonna get some square ice cube trays or like a round ice, like a spherical ice cube tray, because on their website they have it.
Mm-hmm.
I walked in there and I thought, holy man, they are really aisle dressing, because there's nothing in there. They're just like 1 or 2 things, and they pull it up to the front and they evenly space everything to try and make it look like there's something in the store. And I was like, wow, this sucks. This place really sucks. It was pretty sad to see, actually.
I
Felt
think
bad for the people working there.
So someone told me they went broke a few years ago too.
Yeah, they probably did.
They were shutting stores down while they were building the store in Grand Prairie.
I don't doubt it. Yeah.
You know, which is more perpetuated stupidity. Like we're doing the same things over and over again. We're letting the same titans of industry do the same stupid shit.
Yeah.
Over and over and over again. And these people have like I was just reading before I come here, the Goldman Sachs individuals. Apparently they didn't make quite as much money as they thought they were gonna make.
Oh yeah.
So now they're rechecking their like private jet fleet to see if they should be
scaling that down a little bit.
Maybe not. Like they said, the CEO just flies around almost all days on those anyways.
Unbelievable.
And here's the thing: I don't begrudge successful people's success. I don't begrudge successful people, intelligent people, people with really good ideas, innovators. I don't begrudge them a great lifestyle. That's fine. That's perfect. That's not for everybody. And if you're
sure, we don't abuse the system though, right? Like,
but more than that, when you're just an asshole whose parents were elite in New York, so now you're the CEO of something.
Yeah.
And you drive that fucking thing so far into the ground because you are totally incapable of managing this. Your name, your whatever got you there. Which you see a lot of that.
Yeah, there's no skin in the game, right? Zero fucks given, right? There's don't own a bolt in or
and they roll over, restructure, and they put some other pompous prick in there.
Yeah.
And if the flavor of the month is a female, then they put a female in there. It's hard to sit back and think like, yeah, this isn't by design. Like this isn't just a big game, a puppetry game.
I think it is a game. I think there's a certain element of design to it. I think that there's the folks that are untouchable, right? They're just so rich that we can't even get in the same room as those people, right? So wrappers off.
No, that stuff is shocking.
Yeah. Justin Walker's on. Says, how's the night going? The night is going rather well, I think.
How many people are on here? 7. I don't know. Did everybody get their stuff?
Well, I know Ken Sully stopped by the other day. He got the coffee cup, the last coffee cup.
We can make some of those.
But yeah, if anybody hasn't got their stuff,
I know Justin hasn't got his because Justin was going to come over.
Send us an email. I know there's one guy in Grand Prairie. I got to get him a whiskey glass.
And there was that Ontario farmer. I haven't even seen him again. I sent it to him though.
Okay.
I didn't hear back. I sent 2 things out that day.
Hopefully you got it.
I sent one to him and one to somebody else. I'll have to check back into my phone. But yeah, if you're watching and you haven't. I got that list on.
Chad says his 40 Creek is good. He's going to have another. It doesn't taste like peat either or nails. It's funny because we've said during the entirety of the time we've been doing this that the flavor profiles that are advertised are quite often not what we pick up. And I haven't got a hint of peat from this.
No.
I don't know if you did. I certainly didn't. And I really didn't get anything metallic. I definitely got some maybe nail polish remover, a little, because there's that sweet, almost acetone, and that comes from the young alcohol, right? Okay. It comes from having a lack of age. But I never, I didn't get any metallic stuff. I didn't get any iodine.
See, and it's funny. I really think that's a good drink. I had like maybe a bitter fruit.
Yeah, and that is one thing I did read the one review, and it said, like if you let it sit for a long time, you may get a bitter aftertaste or whatever. Yeah.
But it's not unpleasant. I'll just have a little bit more. It's certainly not unpleasant, any of it. At least not to me. Of course, I'm pretty much drowned out by this cigar at this point. This is. I was quite disappointed because I was excited about it said you'd have a razor sharp line.
I haven't. I've had.
It's just a nightmare.
What would you call it? Like a rocky path all the way around.
Stan and I were talking about this before because we pulled the box down because there's some options of what cigar it could be. And in the box, there's this certificate of authenticity and there's some literature. Just what is the possibility that this isn't even a real Monte Cristo cigar?
Oh, I mean, the market for fake Cuban cigars is as alive and well as it ever has been.
Like, I would say it's fairly high. So,
But that said, even if it were fake, it's still a fantastic cigar.
oh, it is a really good cigar.
Yeah, but I mean, you look at that, like that's not at all even. Like
No.
it's just totally burning down the one side, right?
It's quite sad. And I guess maybe that's more into the plays into the BS behind high class chefs and things. I mean, maybe a really high class cigar,
Well, there's
a
lots.
hyped up cigar, just isn't even as good as.
There is definitely hype around the Cuban cigars, and I would say, yeah, okay, 1980s Cuban cigars. They were definitely probably top of the game. But there's a lot of really good Nicaraguan, Honduran, Dominican Republic cigars that will easily outcompete a Cuban cigar right now.
Absolutely, and you see even lots of cigars rolled in Cuba have filler binder from somewhere else.
Yeah, yeah, and I hate to say it, but even some of the Mexican cigars are actually quite good.
Yeah. And I mean, Scotch is another one, no different. I mean, there's $50,000 bottles of Scotch that, I mean, are they any better than some of our favorites? I mean, like that
No, it's
that Dalmore is a very fine. I still like that one. I mean, it's not even just because of the box.
they're not better. It's just simply it's the rarity of it that adds the dollar figure to it, right? But there's a lot of folks say, well, okay, well, if you get a 12-year Scotch, it's very rough. Well, sure, but it might be rougher than a 12-year, but than a 25-year. But there can also be a lot of flavor that comes out in 12-year that can, in a 25-year, that can be quite offensive, even, right?
Mm-hmm.
It is possible to get too much oak in your whiskey. That is 100% true. So when we went to that Scotch tasting, I was quite surprised to see, somewhere the 15-year was better than the 12-year, but the 25-year was like almost completely unpalatable.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I noticed that as well. You think, oh, well, this is going to be something else, and it's something else.
But then there was that one that was right as you went in the door. I can't even remember the name of it now, but it was like they had a golf course or something there, and then they distill whiskey, and that stuff was absolutely. I found it was absolutely awful, but it was all quite young. It was like 10-year stuff, quite young.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Justin said he's still waiting for cigars to come in, and it's going to come over soon. Yeah, that'd be awesome. Get some cigars. Come join us.
He still needs his glass or whatever.
We haven't had a guest speaker on yet. That's one thing.
No, that's some interest.
Yeah.
You had some people wanting to do it.
Yeah.
It is pretty fun to have a good chat, a good cigar.
Yeah, it's good. I'm kind of ashamed we didn't get one in before the holidays, but good to come back.
That was something else. I don't know. Chad said it never made it across the river, the flu, but holy moly, did it hit the Peace Country. Oof.
Yeah, well, yeah, I know. I work with a guy in Worsley, and I guess it hit them pretty hard too. Yeah.
That was something else. Oh,
yeah.
Man.
Yeah.
But
pray we don't revisit that one this season, anyways. So.
No, I think that. I think those who survived it. Oh man, we got.
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm not even joking when I say that. I don't think I would have made her if I would have got. They said pneumonia came on after, so unless I had pneumonia already, like right near the end, I don't know if I'd have made it. I was wiped.
Like, well, the guy that gave me this, he did get pneumonia. He's still on antibiotics actually for it. So he had to go for chest X-rays and the whole 9 yards to confirm that's what it was. And
I feel for him. I mean, it was amazing.
Yeah.
Like how much how much it just wiped right out of the body. There was
Yeah.
no energy, like just barely enough to survive. I know it was. I think I had maybe 7 days left of this on the flu, and I had that load of molasses came in. It was like minus
There's some
30.
cork.
Standing outside trying to and coughing. I thought, I'm gonna die.
Yeah, well, that cough was something else. You cough until your head feels like it's going to split wide open, and then you puke instead. That was bloody miserable. But. So nothing that a whiskey and a cigar would have been able to solve by any means. It would have made it. It would have made it 10 times worse,
I
right?
don't think it would have helped
Yeah,
at all.
yeah.
I don't even think I would have wanted to look at the stuff.
Oh, funny.
That morning, after I had gotten so sick early in the morning at about 4, I tried the smallest sip of cranberry juice, and I threw that up instead.
Just like, yeah, can't do it.
No, I just sick like a little kid.
Yeah,
It was amazing.
yeah. You just stand there all confused, eh?
It was.
Yeah, what just happened?
It was.
Yeah. Did you take your Pepto-Bismol tonight?
2 tablets.
Yeah, I feel like this could be a recipe for some heartburn. It's definitely. I'm gonna put another drop of water in this. I don't think I got quite enough in this.
Oh, I put a good splash. You're gonna have to go
Yeah.
back to the glacier.
Yeah.
No, I really think that's important. I really, really do. Between the cigars and the scotch.
I got some Pepsid the other day because that's way better. Way better. Oh yeah, it's like Tums. It's like eating like 20 Tums all at once. It just solves all my problems. You're good for like 12 hours.
I don't know why I landed on the pepper. I guess it was just in the fridge there before I came over here one day, so I just didn't take a swig. But then
Pink chalky. Ugh.
when I came today, I seen there was some tablets.
Yeah.
Hammered back 2 of those, but no heartburn.
No.
The one time I didn't, I regretted that. So,
Interesting. Well, what do we leave on the table here? Well, definitely that borrowing money piece. I know we kind of touched on that borrowing money piece, but so you want to buy a quarter of land 5 years ago, you needed 25% down, right? Some financial institutions now are asking for 40%. So 40. Well, I don't know what the math is on 40% to $350,000, but you really got to put yourself out. Yeah, you got to really put yourself out there to borrow that. And so then if you get into a variable, and this is where like we initially got into a variable rate mortgage with our house, not on the land but on the house. If so, you're going to put yourself out there on $300,000 or more on a variable rate that can go from what was prime plus 1, which is probably about 3.5% or 4%, to now what's increasing to potentially 7 or maybe even 8 and climbing up into 9 throughout the next year. You're going to be in a tight spot, right? That's foreclosure central.
I don't know either. How do they attack that? Like, is it? I mean, I realize interest rate is interest rate. But
well, they attack that with a deposit, right?
But home mortgages seems to be what's really, really affected. Like just in my situation, my land, and I believe 1 is variable and 2 are fixed. But even the variable rate doesn't seem to have changed, and it's been updated.
Yeah.
And but it was high anyways. It wasn't.
I know ours did. Our payment payment on the house went up $200 a month.
Okay.
Or no, it was $200 biweekly. That's what it was.
So that's the house though. But like my land, of course, my land comes up once a year, it was. But maybe that's why. Maybe it did because even whatever it was 5 years ago when I bought it, I was paying 6%.
Yeah, maybe your annual average worked out.
Right? I never, I mean, when I bought the house in Height, I had 2.89 for a little while.
Yeah.
And then, right. But any land that I bought has been 5% or up even 5 years ago.
Oh, okay.
So I guess maybe that was the stress test. They just put me in the highest possible rate they could.
Robin's doing the math for us. $140,000 is 40% of $350,000. So
what do you say?
$140,000 is 40% to $350,000. And so the bank doesn't want to own the land, right? That's how they get in front of it. because they don't want to foreclose on it. They want to be able to cash flow it, because cash flow creates potential future investments. So if it's higher risk, then they just drive your deposit up higher, right? So they make it so that only the person that can, if you can bankroll 140 grand, if you just pull that out of your pocket, there's a chance you can pull your $4,000 a month land payment out too, right?
I suppose, but then see, well, certainly in agriculture, that's a really unfortunate thing to have happened, because it's been hard for people to start. And I'm not speaking from experience at all, because I didn't go down that channel, but I can see it and I can appreciate it, that this is a very hard thing to do if you don't come from a family farm already.
Yeah.
And now it's impossible.
Well, it is impossible, but for the odd person, I think it's possible. So say you bought a house 5 years ago, housing prices went up, everything during the pandemic went up. So say you sell your house and suddenly you do find yourself with $140,000 worth of equity. You sell your house, you got cash in your hand, and then you go and show up at a bank and say, here's 140 grand, give me a loan for 350, or for this land that's worth 350.
Yeah.
Right? Just because you got cash in your hand today doesn't mean you can service the remainder of that debt tomorrow, right?
Yeah. Well, then I'm thinking of it from as a whole, right? I mean, if you're going to sell your home in town and move out,
well, you better know that the rest of your life is going to cost money.
Well, it's just if you're going to that bare quarter of land that's kind of marginal at best, so it's right around that 300, 350. That's going to be the quarter. So you're going to have nothing now for like utilities or power or sewer or gas.
Yeah.
You're going to have nothing to start building your home. So you're going to be living, I guess, in a tent on it.
Yeah.
For the first while. If you think you're going to stretch out and grab yourself a quarter with a home on it, well, now you're looking at $600,000-$700,000 all day long for an old home.
For an older home. Yeah. Yeah.
So like that, and that's why I say, I mean, it's effectively impossible, or essentially, it's not doable anymore, because almost no wage earner, unless you're in the C-suite, pulls in this revenue to maintain a standard of living of any kind.
That's right.
And service this debt.
That's right.
It's just not. There's just no way.
Yeah.
There's just no way.
Yeah. Yeah, unless you're cash flowing from like 17 other quarters of land somehow, right?
And that's exactly what we were talking about the other day. My dad admitted it too. He said, yeah, like, so this is the other thing we were talking about. So now that the farms, from the VLA Act to the Homestead Act, and then, I think my grandpa came in here in 1927. He would have been like 25 years old.
Yeah.
I don't know how many quarters he accumulated by the time that he died, 5 or 6. My uncle ended up with those. My dad switched off, and then he accumulated a bunch in his life to whatever it is, 18 or something. Now, if he didn't have someone take over to assume that the role and keep farming the land, who buys the 18 quarters? And now he's not the only one. You look around, there are very few small farms. You look at a province like Saskatchewan, that's brutal. Those farms are massive. They're $27 million. Who buys that?
You can't.
Right?
Your neighbor needs to buy it. The Hutterite colony needs to buy it.
Well, that's basically the only ones, because those, while your neighbor might also have a $27 million farm, he's probably your age.
Yeah. And
his kid can't buy a lifetime's worth of work.
Yeah.
Off the start. And my dad was saying that he was at an auction sale like in the 90s, and there were some old boys at that time saying, well, isn't this sad? No young guys here. Nobody wants to farm, right? Nobody wants to pay for anything. And my dad looked at him and said, how much did you pay for it?
Yeah. How would you even?
Like you didn't pay. You probably paid out like $5,000, $400.
Yeah.
Maybe you got it for nothing, right? Well, you come back from the war and they give you a quarter. And now you want some kid, 20, 30-year-old in the 90s here now, just came through paying or seeing 20% interest, capped in Alberta or whatever at 18%.
Yeah.
And now you want them to stretch out and give you $700,000 for your farm. It's
Well,
not.
you can't.
It's not possible. And
You
now
can't.
you want someone to give you $7.5 million for your farm. Like it's unless you have a well-established farm, and so that's the point. If you have 17 quarters, yeah, you may be able to cash flow buying one or two more.
Yeah.
But you can never buy someone's farm.
You can't buy. Yeah, you can't duplicate it, right? Yeah. Glenn popped in. Glenn Gillis is just popping in to say hi. Well-dressed pair. Yeah, new suits. Right uptown. Chad says, I think people can get started farming. It's the expansion that's the killer. Yeah, it's kind of what we just talked about. Yeah, most people can get a quarter. It's the next 10 quarters that sucks. And I was like, for us, it was pretty easy to get the quarter, even though the quarter was a lot of money at that time, right? Even 5 years ago, $295,000, $290,000 was a lot of money for a quarter of land. But if you want it, that's the price. And if you don't want it, well, somebody else is going to pay it. And you come back 5 years from now and you have that money and the price is now $350, right? So he said, yeah, right now rent on a quarter is about half of the interest payment on a quarter of land around here. So renting makes sense. I first started ownership was the same payment. And that's true. Yeah, I think right now, if you wanted to expand, you pretty well got to do it on rented land. On maybe you've got an older landowner that they can't farm the land, but they still want to get cash flow off the land somehow. Renting is the way to go, right?
Renting's tough too, though. I don't quite agree with that either. For one, it's just a personal thing that I don't believe if you don't want to work the land, you should. That's an aggressive statement, but it really pisses me off.
Yeah.
That people can be sitting in Palm Springs who have never, built the fence or picked the rocks or cleared the land. They're just the third or fourth generation and they're in their 50s and they got their feet up in Phoenix while some 30, 40, 50-year-old guy is out there or girl picking rocks, taking the, doing all the work. It really pisses me off.
There's lots of land in that Spirit River area that's like, because there's just 1,000 oil wells on every quarter section of land, right? Mm-hmm. And you see lots of that where it's just derelict homestead after derelict homestead, and the original occupants of the land just completely walked away from it. It was not sustainable. It was not equitable at all. Development came in. They drilled 4 or 5 oil wells on a quarter of land.
Yeah.
The guy's making bank, right? 25, 30,000 a year off oil revenue. And he gets 15 quarters and lives a dream.
Right. So yeah, he's getting $100,000, $120,000 in rent, $50,000 in
oil revenue, and then renting the land on top to some poor other fool that's going to go out there and pick rocks, right?
But the unfortunate thing behind rented land is you need to build the infrastructure to farm. Now you can bag the grain. That's a cheaper cost. I think to buy. I don't know if you can rent this stuff in the Peace Country. I'm sure you can get anything from Flaman's, but I would say to buy a grain bagger and an extractor now would probably cost you $80,000-$90,000.
Yeah.
So if you don't have the bin storage, you can dump the shit on the ground too. We've done it before. It used to be done in the past. It's not the best option either. We don't live in a favorable climate.
No, we
dump
don't.
the grain on the ground.
No, we don't.
So you do it, but you do it with the intent of getting it cleaned up right away.
Yeah.
So, can you forward contract it all and sell it right to the grain elevator? You absolutely can. And you have a year like last year and the year before where people couldn't come up. We heard of people writing hundreds of thousands of dollars for the checks to grain elevators because they couldn't cover the grain.
Couldn't get there, yeah.
So now you got to find out if you got big enough seeding equipment to handle your land plus 2,000 rented acres. Most likely you don't. The season doesn't allow for that here.
Yeah.
I've had this discussion with other people. When you can start farming in April, the beginning of April, and seed right until the end of June, that's fine.
Sure.
We only seed in the month of May.
You seed in the month of May, and you can't get the labor force behind you to be able to really seed that much acreage, right?
No, even if you can find the people to do it, you can't find equipment.
You're not going to. Well, yeah, right? You're not going to find a hired man for $15 an hour or $18 an hour to come in and sit behind a tractor. And
you start to look. I was kind of looking. I'm always looking, right? My cookies are all just tractors and stuff. $90,000 for old worn out 4-wheel drives that are 280 horsepower. Well, that's really not enough.
Yeah.
Right. Someone asked me like, well, why do you guys always have new tractors? Like, well, we don't always have new tractors, but the reason we have new tractors is because they didn't make a 500 horsepower tractor in the 80s. Right. They made the big bud, but it was common.
Yeah.
right? So if you need 500 horsepower to pull your bigger drill because you're farming more land with less people,
So that's the reality now. Is that there was always that. Okay, well, if you're going to buy a new tractor or not, you're either going to have parts or you're going to have payments. Now we sit in an era where you're going to have parts and payments,
yeah,
no matter what you do.
absolutely.
No matter what you do, right?
You hope you can get parts, and now
you hope, yeah, you hope you can get parts, but the reality is, okay, for the dollar that's available to you,
on top of that,
you're having to buy old equipment that's houred out, and still make massive payments on it, right? I literally won't just use the other one. I just filled that tonight, but we did use it quite a bit. So
these are going out like rapidly, and I'd say I'm just nestling through the last third. What were we supposed to be at here? Cedar, white, black pepper. I can get the pepper out of it.
Yeah, I'm not getting any pepper.
It's spicy on the tongue.
Finding the draws loosening up a little bit. It tightened up there right before I got to the final third, but yeah. Chad says the solution's being more intensive. Got to squeeze more out of the land you've got. Through barns of sheep, etc. There are ways to make a living. Nothing's easy. Yeah, I would agree. Like if you go look at the farming practices in Europe, which those farms have been in situ for, quite honestly, 1,000 years or more in some cases, and that is the only way that they make themselves equitable, is that they take advantage of literally every square inch of land that they possibly can, right? There's no 60-foot drills or anything like that. That land base just isn't available to them, and so what they have to make use of. But they also have use of a climate that's not a complete asshole. Like the air isn't trying to kill them there, right? Like usually, depending on where you are in Europe, minus 15 is pretty much the coldest it gets, right? And that's an extreme cold temperature.
Well, I don't know if any of the YouTube people would have saw it, but I did a, Joe Kootney, the saddle maker.
Mm-hmm.
I did a live with him on TikTok the other night.
Oh, okay.
And so he's got some opportunities on the horizon in ag, and he was wondering how to make a go of this. And we had it actually all figured out that instead of farming, 2,000 acres, 2,500 acres, if he farmed 400 acres, kept doing what he's doing with pasturing cattle, and actually then fed out the cattle, so effectively became a feedlot type situation, he could generate a tremendous amount of income, not even having to put up any money. It was amazing. It was quite fun to do. So you could, you could take this plan to the bank, right? I mean, depending on how the rent works, a lot of times you don't have to pay the rent till the end of the year.
Sure.
So you could get through the whole year.
Yeah.
Right. Custom farming. So you hire a custom seeder, custom sprayer, custom harvester.
Yeah.
He's gonna. The plan here. I don't know if he's gonna do this, but kind of our plan was, you dump all the grain right on the ground, set up those quick bins because you're going to feed it to cattle anyways. That's the intent.
Yeah.
He'd have about 5 or 6 Super Bs of overage to sell to the elevators that would get initial cash flow to start to pay the bills for the custom, for the rent, and then you could feed cattle throughout the winter. It was amazing. So like Chad had said, you got to be efficient. That's one of the reasons I started selling feed off the farm. There has to be more conventional ways to do this, right?
Yeah.
Someone was asking me the other day about the benefits. I said, the last 2 years hasn't actually really been that.
You're taking the same product and finding alternate revenue sources out of it, right? So.
Well, exactly. But the last 2 years, it really hasn't been that worthwhile to do it because grain prices are so high anyways.
Sure they are.
And you can't really get a whole bunch more at a record high. It just kind of has to be there.
Yeah.
So now is it worthwhile, all this extra wear and tear, or should I just load it up and take it to town? Of course, you can't do that now because if you want to do this again next year, you better have that same customer base.
That's right.
So now you're in it, and that's fine.
Yeah.
But
you have to sustain it somehow, right?
They said, well, what can you can you really justify it over an oil patch job? And I said, well, I don't know. Like if you do the numbers, you do a little bit on dockage.
Yeah.
I don't put don't charge dockage. Of course, there's not much anyways. I mean,
Yeah.
I hauled some grain earlier in the fall. The dockage was 1%. But if you do 1% on say 50,000 bushels, well, there's a little bit there, right? I mean, there's a buck or two in the bag. It's the physical bag itself.
Yeah.
A little bit there. Then there's the fact that I do all my own maintenance on all my machinery during the winter.
Yeah.
Don't pay John Deere, Case,
That's
Holland.
right.
There's a bit there. Then there's the value added to the grain. A little bit there. So when you add it all up, probably makes sense.
Sure.
You put put lifestyle, then again, try to add some dollar figure to it.
It's a little
hard
bit
to do.
little bit less tangible with lifestyle, but yeah.
But there's a value there. I mean,
Yeah.
you just ask my dad, right? He used to work 340 days a year away from home.
Hard to put a number on sleeping in your own bed, right?
Someone like him could be like, yeah, no, there's value in not spending all of your life in Port Nelson.
Yep.
When your family lives in Hythe.
That's right.
So there's a bit there too, right?
Yeah.
There's other. I mean, I don't even own a pickup. Like I never leave.
Yeah.
So I mean, what's a pit truck payment? $1,400 a month now.
Yeah,
if
probably.
it's $100,000 or whatever, maybe you can get one for $600. But there's six.
Yeah. Well, I mean, no,
$1,700
you could still get $1,100 a month truck payment, but you're going to pay for that truck for not 10 years, right? And they will give it to you.
So,
you know, that truck will be in the fucking scrapyard before you're done paying for it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, quite the deal anyhow, eh? Quite the deal. So on the inflation side, so the cost of your fuel goes up, the cost of your fertilizer goes up, the cost of your seed goes up. And then your cost going out the door, so your cost of a bag of grain or your cost of a load of grain or whatever, your end product, that has to go up to cover that cost, right? So theoretically, inflation, if you're in a buy and sell market, if you can keep your margin ratio where it should be, inflation shouldn't even affect the producer, right? But you always get somebody who will scream and say the farmer's trying to rob them.
Well, the unfortunate thing about the farmer is they're always a price taker. You are pretty conceited to think you are a price setter or
you
price
take
maker.
Especially with grain, and livestock, right?
Both of them. You are going to get what the auction mart tells you it's worth, and you're going to get what the grain company tells you it's worth. You can shop around just a little bit, but you're going to find that that's not going to get you very far either. I mean, it's almost like that price fixing thing where they know, and that's they all know, right?
Yeah.
They all know what they're paying. They're all within a few cents. I mean, I had seen quite a few years ago. I watched a thing on the internet, and it was this guy telling you how to be better at marketing and things like that. And he said, "Oh, you got to make sure to shop around. You can make as much as 10, 15 cents, but by going down the road to another elevator." And in our area specifically, when they had said that, from our farm to the Viterra elevator is about 50 kilometers.
Yeah, it's not close.
The next closest option would be into BC, which is like going into another country. There's two scales.
Yeah.
There's a border scale and there's a BC scale. And then once you get to BC, there's a couple options there. One was a Viterra, and then there was a few other ones. Aside from that, it was up to Spirit River, which is about 110 kilometer round trip. Or sorry, 1 way.
Not feasible, right?
How are you going to save? How are you going to make 10 cents pay?
You're not, because you're going to burn it all in gas, right, or diesel or whatever, right?
So that's the other thing. I mean, you got to realize if your hands are actually tied or not.
Robin says we should be selling the farming experience and get people to pay for doing your work for you, right? There's a lot of people that want to get into that lifestyle thing. So I had actually proposed this to my wife a few years ago to set up a glamping site. Glamping is like a thing they do in the UK where you don't just go camp, you camp, but you also have like some type of an experience that accompanies it.
Okay.
And so you could have them come and they could, collect your eggs for you or milk a sheep or whatever kind of random stuff they do. But she just looked at me like I was like fully retarded and just said like, you can maybe get away with that in some like beautiful, like somewhere where it's like really, really gorgeous and but you're not going to get away with that here. And I thought, man, like, I don't know if you appreciate the view we have of that beautiful little slough down there, but I think it's right uptown. But
I was talking to a friend of mine in Central Alberta, and he was he does that loop program. They got that down there,
okay, yeah,
and we were talking about this similar thing. And he said the guy, whatever, a little bit south, maybe an hour closer to the city, he has 2 fifth-wheel campers set up in his yard. People come out from the city.
yeah,
They stay there. They sort his loop. They feed his animals. They pay him.
yeah,
They go out to sea.
yeah. See, and I think
That's in Edmonton.
I think if you were closer to a major center like Edmonton or Calgary or Vancouver or one of these big cities, you could probably get away with that.
Well, it shocked me.
Grand
because-
Prairie, by definition, is already rural, right?
Yeah, we don't have
We're already remote, so I think we'd have a tough time selling it here.
The specific person that lives in Grand Prairie is not, I mean, by and large, is not the individual that really wants shit on their boots.
That's right.
Like, they don't
Yeah.
mind laying on their back welding on a casing bowl, and their significant other doesn't mind wearing leather boots up to their knees,
Yeah,
driving a Denali
sure.
with their little chihuahua on the seat. That really seems to be the
Stereotypical. Yeah,
stereotypical Grand Prairie couple.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like a couple of kids running around doing whatever, a bunch of extracurricular.
But yeah.
There's not a bunch of.
there's not a lot of adventure tourism here, but if you can make it work, because I know there's folks out there that are charging like $250 a day for people to come and stay at their farm.
Well, I got that
and live in
trailer.
like a 1-bedroom shack. Maybe it's got heat. I don't know. Certainly doesn't have a bathroom or running water or anything like that. And they come and they do the farm chores over the weekend, and you feed them breakfast is all you do, right? It's just a bed and breakfast kind of thing, right?
Might have to run that through. I got that trailer no one's in.
Yeah.
I don't know if I like that though. I don't know if
Like an Airbnb, basically, right?
I deal with people, you know.
Yeah.
You got to pick them up at the airport.
No, I
Drive
think
back
no.
to the
Fuck,
airport.
they can rent a car and drive out, and
Oof. Maybe they've got
you
a
could take them to Edwards Factory Outlet and
multi-$100 idea right here.
let them buy some jeans or some overalls or whatever, and they come out for the weekend. And Chad says, I got lots of town guys that are bored and want to come out. My problem is, how do you safely get someone to do your work without destroying stuff? Yeah, I mean, you need to put them on the most like mundane tasks. Like, you can't put them on like the legitimate farming operations. You're not going to put them behind the wheel of a $500,000 tractor and say, go seed this field for me. You got $1 million crop riding on it. That's not going to happen, right? But
My dad jokes about that a lot. He says every farmer knows their own haywire, right?
Yeah.
So when you're gonna, you're expecting these people to come out and operate stuff that you've wired this switch in over here because you needed it. I mean, they're not gonna know.
They're not
going
gonna
to
do that. No. You get away with this kind of stuff if you've got like 12 goats or like 4 horses or something, and you need somebody to come and feed your horses, or
Oh yes.
you roll around in the shit and let goats jump over them and snuggle with them, and artsy fartsy cutie stuff, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
That's people that they just lap that shit up, right? But yeah, if you told them like, okay, well, here's 1,000 acres and you're just going to go backwards and forwards and backwards and forwards, I think they'd be like, fuck this shit. Like within the first hour for sure. Right?
Yeah.
They'd be like, this sucks. Right?
Yeah, you might be able to give them the experience now. Most of the modern machinery has 2 seats in it anyway. So, but then now you've got to be excited that they're with you, right? And
Yeah.
a lot of times
Chad's got the goats. Oh, well, fuck, you're gold. You're gold.
he's got goats.
You're set right up. You've got the money, you just haven't printed it yet. That's all.
Well, I'm quite intrigued by this now. I mean, I
Yeah.
might be able to. Like, we have, until COVID, we had some hunters come up from the States.
Yeah.
I think they were kind of wealthy people. In fact, I was talking to the Ducks Unlimited guy, and he was, they were going to take out a dam that was on West Lake. It was on our side there, so we had access through our field.
Yeah.
And I was like, well, I mean, there's got to be some money in there, right? And
Sure.
He said most people ask, and he explained basically cried poverty the whole entire time. I was like, man, just go take a damn. I don't give a shit.
Ron says you could charge an extra $300 for the Scotch sampling room.
Oh man, well, that you could do that.
You could.
That you could do that. But,
Well, I mean, even if you enlisted a guy that knew how to make like dandelion wine or do some
well, there's enough around here that you could get yourself a little van, a little sprinter van,
custom
with a few
brewing
seats,
and whatever, right?
you could make a trip. I mean, there's some people doing some pretty, like out in Good Fair, that homestead farm.
Yeah,
that's pretty cool. Like they're doing some pretty cool stuff out there.
You could do a whole thing where you stay at my farm and you milk my goat or whatever, but then yeah, we run out to Good Fair and we buy some microgreens for lunch or whatever, and a little bit of sausage, and then maybe later in the afternoon we run out to Aldi's and we go sample some wine at the Broken Tine Orchard, and you could make it a whole thing. All you'd need is a little Dodge Grand Caravan and tint that shit up. And
right? I mean, they do wine tours all around Napa Valley and in the Okanagan and everything. Why can't we just drive around dirt roads, dodging welding trucks?
Just get a custom wrap on your vehicle.
This could be something.
Yeah.
You certainly end up with a van out of the deal anyways. If not a big bag to put the money in.
Yeah, that's right.
But anyways, that Ducks Unlimited guy, he was saying that like a lot of Republicans, he said, in the States, they'll have like events where they'll just give Ducks Unlimited Canada like $50,000.
For what?
Just to save the ducks.
Just to save the. Oh, here's some.
I was shocked when he
some
told
conservation dollars. Yeah, save the ducks.
Because I asked him, I said, well, where does all your money come from? Like when I knew he wasn't really excited about giving me any money to access through the border.
You mean it doesn't come from all those paintings at the Walmart that they do silent bids on?
I think a very small part comes from that. But he said yeah, they'll have like charity events where like Republican donors will donate to Ducks Unlimited and be like, yeah, go buy a quarter of wetland or whatever so that ducks have a place to live, and then we'll come up and just blast the shit out of them, eh? Right. So,
wow.
I guess when you're rich, you've got problems that the rest of us don't have. Like
that's right. That's right. It's funny. So Robin says, "Oh, the creamery too." Yeah, we didn't mention the creamery.
We have a creamery?
I don't know. We must have a creamery. Valhalla used to have a creamery back in the day. Now they just got the mercantile, right?
Okay.
But they used to, yeah.
I don't know. My dad always says that the cans went to Grand Prairie.
But I remember as a young man, there was was it Jersey cows or Guernsey cows? They were Jersey cows. Anyways, there's this creamery not far from where we live. And you go there and you buy an ice cream cone. And it wasn't even like a big ice cream, but it was expensive. Like it was like 8 pounds. So like $15 for an ice cream, right? But it's made of this Jersey milk, which is like, I mean, one shade lighter than butter, essentially, right? They just throw a bunch of sugar in it and vanilla, and here it is, right? And it's the greatest thing ever. And you can see all the cows, and there's like real shit on the ground, and you can appreciate it because it's like it's actually an authentic working farm, and it's not just like some storefront kind of thing that, it's just some hippie bullshit, right? It's actually an authentic working farm, and you get the product, and you can appreciate it, right? So it is neat. It is neat to see that kind of stuff, right? Damn near to the end of this thing. It's starting to feel like it might just either get real soft or crumble here. So
I'm getting to the greasy old dart stage where it's going to start to burn the fingernail.
Oh, Robin was talking about Valhalla. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So, there's no creamery there anymore, but they do have some of the greatest sandwiches and pie on the planet. Pretty funny. They sell that pie by the slice, eh?
I've gotten food from there once in my life, and I've never been there.
Oh, really? I remember for a work function one time, this guy bought like 12 pies. But of course, they sell the pie by the slice, and there's like 6 slices in a pie, and each slice is $5. These pies are fucking expensive, right? He bought like 12 of them, and then had to pay the bill afterwards. It's like, oof. That was tough. But so Curtis is on.
I'm sure nothing an expense account can't handle.
Oh well, yeah. You just build it. You just have a contractor bill it out and charge it to some other random thing, right? So sour cream pie was the best. I don't know if I've ever had sour cream pie. I'm a lemon meringue guy myself.
Yeah. No,
I do like a good lemon meringue.
it's all right.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
familiar with the flapper pie? That's where I'm at.
Flapper pie. So what is that?
I don't even know.
You don't
It's
even
delicious.
know. Yeah.
It's whatever. I made.
It's just not. It's a non-descriptive name that I can't like what's in there. Like
I made one for the Heights Fair one year. Took home first prize too.
yeah.
Yeah. Beat my mom. It was a win. Whooped up a batch of cookies and beat my old man.
County Fair champion.
Got 2 first place ribbons there.
Yeah.
It's pretty exciting.
That's the way to go. I'm gonna try and win the pumpkin contest this year. That's my goal.
Good luck. You're gonna be gone. I'm gonna come over and poison your pumpkin.
What?
Oh, you're gone.
Oh no! I'll have that thing on a milk IV.
I'll come poison it while you're overseas.
Yeah. I'm going to Amsterdam. That's going to be quite the show. I don't speak a word of Dutch.
No.
No. I thought, okay, well,
Get yourself some of the
my wife's
free devil's lettuce.
my wife and her dad and their Dutch heritage, like they could at least concert some type of effort to like learn a little bit of like conversational Dutch. No, they're just like, oh yeah, no, everybody like for the most part everybody speaks English. Yeah, they do until you don't, and you're lost as fuck down some side road, and the guy's like, "Burka, burka, duka, burka, durka," and you're like, "What? Where do we go now?" Right? Because it's a very different. Like it's not like French or anything. Like it's you can't read it and think, okay, well that's like close to something else.
Well, you're a pretty big guy. I'm sure you'll be right.
Oh yeah, no, we'll figure it out. Nobody will starve, but worst case scenario, I'll just get on a ferry and go back to England. 6-hour ferry ride though, so probably won't be doing that too quickly. But yeah, a week in Holland or the Netherlands and a week in the UK. So
That'll be good.
yeah. I'm excited to go. I'm a little bit nervous for the girls because 2 young kids, right? That's going to be packing car seats and doing all that like terrible shit that you just don't like to do.
Yeah.
Right?
I hear you.
Yeah.
There's a bit of traveling to get across the old blue pond there.
Mm-hmm.
So
You give up on it? I'm gonna give up on it.
mine fell apart and burnt me.
Yeah. Well, it didn't burn me, but it's crumbling. It's like toast that's been made with stale bread.
It's just a good fine stick, as they say.
Yeah, it was good right till the end there. So, Chad says that's not Holland. That sounds more like Pakistan. Yeah. Well, if you've ever heard the Dutch speak, it does sound like somebody cold starting a diesel on a -40 morning. My wife's grandpa used to every once in a while throw out a little bit of conversational Dutch, and you just nod and smile, and you just know that he was swearing at you, and you've been an idiot. Just say, yeah, I'll never do that again. But yeah, it'll be interesting anyways. Visit some of the old stomping grounds in the old country.
You haven't been back there in a while, eh?
I haven't been back there since 17, yeah. Probably been a few changes for sure. Yeah.
I'm gonna get there someday. I gotta convince my parents to make that journey one more time. They always want to do that river cruise, eh?
Like the Viking River
Yeah,
cruise.
they both want to do it, but then
I don't think it's what you think it is, though.
They don't really want to travel. Of course, my mom does, but that'd be good for them.
I don't know. The Viking River cruise is like it's like a Caribbean cruise, but it's fucking cold as shit. You know?
Is this in like June?
Yeah, but it's like it's not in like a warm like place. Like usually they go up through like the Netherlands, or they go up through like Germany, or they go up not Germany, but like up through Norway and stuff. Like these places are usually quite cold climates, anyways, right?
I didn't really get that on. I was kind of looking, and I thought like
Like, I'm sure it's not going
It's
to be.
amazing.
It's not going to be 40 below by any means, but it's not going to be
Like,
30 above either.
check out all those government buildings that were built like 1,000 years ago, and castles. Oh, that'd be amazing.
I was telling a guy at work about that today. Actually, like Kirkfell Farm is named after Kirkfell, which is a mountain in the Pennines, and at the bottom of Kirkfell is the Church of St. Olaf's. Church of St. Olaf's was built like the beams that hold the roof up are the beams from a Viking longship that was dismantled 1,000 years ago, right? It's a really, really cool thing. And then you think, okay, well, I'm gonna go to town and I look at a house and it's the house is built in 1973. Probably a piece of shit. I don't want to go anywhere near that, right? So the fact that there was no engineers 1,000 years ago, and you can still make a thing so good that it's not only is it standing today, but it's actually still functioning as an actual church. Like, people still go there on Sunday. It's amazing. It's crazy, right?
I mean, here in Hythe, they built that fourplex. It was supposed to be some seniors housing, and I think one person lived in one part of it for about 8 months, and then they tore it down. It was so shoddily built, full of mold and shit.
Well, what was the old folks home they were going to build out of sea cans? They never even
that didn't work so well.
They never even got it put together, right? So
yeah, it half assembled, and then they took it down. So yeah, it's truly incredible that stuff that's stood the weather for thousands of years, at least 8,000. But yeah, someday, a couple more years of these high grain prices, and I'll go.
Then you're gonna go.
I'll go. Retire.
Well,
go.
Where are the blooms from? What's the? It's a German name.
Yeah, my grandpa came from Germany.
Yeah.
My grandma came from Saskatchewan, actually, and I don't know where originally from, Ukraine, maybe.
Yeah.
I think that come up. It's funny, like, like my wife's side, they're just so passionate about heritage that, to me, doesn't exist to them. Like, they're all Canadian. They were all born in Canada.
No, they're Norwegian, aren't they?
Right? Like my father-in-law was born in Canada.
Yeah.
But, like, because I kind of joke with my wife.
That only happens here, though.
I'm as German as my father-in-law is Norwegian.
Yeah.
And I don't consider myself, like, I don't even, the most bizarre thing, and, like, this is true, I didn't know my grandma's name until my daughter was born.
Yeah.
I never even knew her name.
Really?
It was just not, right? Huh. And then my wife was actually reading an old book about the area and seeing my grandma's name, and then named my daughter that. And people were like, "Oh, that's so nice after your grandma." I said, "I didn't even. It doesn't mean it's
just a coincidence."
It was. She's seen the name, liked it, but it wasn't. This wasn't named after her.
Yeah.
I had no idea.
You should have just said, "Yeah, sure."
Well, I mean, yeah, I could, I guess, but we're not that family lineage type people hold on to the past and where we came from. And I mean, on my mom's side, I don't know. I have no idea. But I think my grandma might even be Canadian.
But that is a trait that's entirely North American. Like, you go anywhere else in the world and they don't talk about like that. Like,
oh, okay.
It's indicative of a settler culture, right?
Mm.
Because for the most part, most of the families in North America, with the exception of a few old families, are second and third generation immigrants, right? Like, my great grandparents came to Canada during like right around the early 1920s. They come from one batch come from Sweden and another batch come from Poland on my mom's side of the family, right? So, okay, well, then there's that whole Swedish heritage piece. Well, no, we're born here.
Right?
That's it. Yeah.
I remember there was a thing in social studies in about grade 8 or whatever, and you're supposed to do your crest, eh?
Yeah.
My brother, I think, he just put 6 Canadian flags on there. Like,
oh yeah.
What do you?
Where do you go from there? Yeah.
I mean, I'm not too sure. It is kind of neat, I guess, right? If you look back, but I don't know. I don't invest a lot of time in it. Like, I'm not into the ancestry, DNA stuff, and trying to find out where.
If you go back to the old country though, and you try to tell them that okay, well, I'm whatever, German heritage or whatever, and they just look at you like you had 3 heads.
I believe it.
Yeah.
I believe it, right? I
Yeah.
mean, like your choice was made for you, right? I mean, you're
Yeah.
not. You're not.
Yeah.
I mean, I like the little bit we got. I asked my dad like why my grandpa would have even came here, like what, because I mean, I think the story at that time. I think the train maybe went to Wembley, and then they walked from there. And,
Run out of gas. Better hitchhike.
And then, the track wasn't built yet.
Yeah.
So however, they ended up here. And then there was, of course, the promise of work, and he said there was no work. They tried to work for farmers, and that was kind of a disaster, like probably would be now.
Yeah.
Because he was a coal miner in Germany, so then he went. He actually had a coal mine on the.
Like on the Red Willow? Oh, the Wapiti. Yeah.
So he, I was just telling my dad the name of this, the subdivision down there or whatever. Yeah, it actually was the name of his mine as well.
Huh.
So they were gonna try to like geocache and find it or whatever. Eh? But
Yeah.
like lots of that's gone too, right? I mean, my dad's not a young man. His siblings were all older. I mean, they're all gone, except for his one sister,
Yeah.
brother, I guess. So a lot of that's lost, and I mean maybe for the best. I don't know. But I ask him all the time, like, why did he come here? There must have been other options, and apparently there was. I think they could have went to South Africa or South America. And I always thought like he should have went to South America. Because had it the cards all played out the same way, like maybe we could have like 2,000 acres of coffee beans.
Yeah, probably
be
would
like
have
on the coast.
probably would have worked out better. You could have been making these cigars.
Well, I mean, you also could end up living in a box in the bush somewhere.
Yeah, you also could have been, murdered by your own government or something.
But I just think like, what if it would have been a similar story of like, acquiring land and farming, and then all of a sudden, like having a big villa where people want a vacation and just living there.
Yeah.
Because like I guess the story was he built himself a little shack and then had to go coal mining and came back and had it burned down, so he lost all his shit, everything he brought with him. So then he had to start over again from nothing. And I was thinking that probably would have been enough that I would have had itself until I found an orange tree.
Yeah, that would have been tough, because there's not a day in this planet or on this like part of the country where like it's really easy.
Not really.
It's
better now when we can just slide the thermostat up to
even now.
22.
I mean, there's days when it's like legitimately hard to live here.
It is,
right? You think about go back, and it's not that many years, right? One or two generations, and life was legitimately hard. I was talking to Charlotte about this, and I know she's only 3 and she can't comprehend this, but I was trying to explain like what privilege is to her, and like, okay, like you want to go and you have a hot shower and you literally just turn the faucet and hot water comes out immediately because it's on demand. It will just continue to flow for eternity until you turn it off.
Yeah.
Right. That's to me is privilege. Whereas in the early 1960s, like my mom, they didn't have running water. They'd have to go to the well. They'd have to draw water, heat it up on the wood stove, do that 4 or 5 times, put it in the basin, and then 5 kids would have to run through that bath water.
Mm-hmm.
And that's one generation.
Even here, I think my dad said they didn't get power until 1957.
Yeah.
And I think, like you said, he was 9 by the time they got running water. It's shocking. That's not very far away. Or it's like not very far in the past.
No, that's I remember like my dad was telling me like he was culture shocked when he came to Canada and found out like in the 1980s or 1979 is when he came. He was shocked at how many places didn't have running water in 1979.
Yeah.
And he was born in 49 and had lived his whole life with running water in England. It was like what do you mean you have to shit in an outhouse? Like what are we cavemen? Like what's going on here?
Well, it's still young, right? It's like
you're
the last Wild West.
You're practically camping. Yeah.
But it would have been tough. I mean, it floored me as someone who's never had a wood stove before. It takes quite a bit of work to keep that wood stove working.
Oh, I'm sure it does.
You need some wood first.
Yeah.
That just isn't there. I mean, you can just whip out and pay $300 a cord and get it. But
Sure.
if you want to try to do this efficiently, which the plan was to sort of try to offset the heating bill a little bit.
Yeah. You got to put some work
It's
in.
a lot of work.
Yeah.
And I mean, I even got it. I got a steel chainsaw. I got a telehandler to lift the tree up.
Yeah.
I can just saw it.
You got a log splitter?
We turned our shop press into a log splitter. So
the technology, eh?
Right, we hooked that right up to the backhoe. Somebody sits in the cab and runs the lever, and the other person puts a log there.
That's cool, though.
And it's still a lot of. It's amazing because I was asking my dad. I said, "Well,
how do I get that job? I just sit in the skid steer and just
do
do
my
this."
mom.
Okay.
I guess she helped me last
time.
But because I asked him, I said, "Well, how did you guys?" And then it doesn't throw as much heat as you think it should. Now, of course, he said, "Well, you have to understand your house is quite a bit bigger than my house was, right? I mean, their house was like 750 square feet.
Yeah.
And they had a big, whatever it would have been. But he said, yes, Sunday, that was his job. He'd split wood all day. And it didn't matter his age. It's just that's what he did until things progressed enough to have heating. And
that's right.
And I thought, like you say, you try to, because I don't know. I mean, I was born my whole entire life with running water, with power. And if it was cold, you could slide the old thermostat up with you. And life was good, right? I mean, you could take your sweater off and just turn the thermostat up. You didn't have to look for a blanket.
See, and I didn't even have that, and I'm not that much older than you, but I didn't have that in our house. We had coal. We had coal fireplace, and if the coal fireplace died down, you had to take a bucket and go outside and shovel coal into the bucket and bring it back in the house, and clean the ashes out every day, and so it's just interesting to how things have changed and changed so rapidly within such a short period of time.
It is amazing. It really, really is. And then now that I watch my kids, they're 4 and 6. Yeah. So they got lots of questions, and they're pretty funny about it, right? I mean, even after Christmas, right? I mean, because as is the way now, they're so bored. It's unfortunate, but they effectively appreciate nothing, and they just.
Well, I mean, how could they?
They're just. It's just daily and weekly they're getting shipped, and because everything now is affordable and it's available, so it's unfortunate.
Everything's instant gratification. You never have to work for anything. It's immediately available.
You try your best, and I mean, Corey, of course, there's other things too. She got them leap pads for on the combine. They don't get them at the house, but when they're on the combine, I think I got to hand it to the kids. They spent some long hours in there with Corey or my mom or my dad, whoever's combining. So they got something to do. And, he was whining, I think my boy, a little while ago about not getting his leap pad in the house. And I said, well, just go ask Papa what he had when he was 6.
Yeah, probably had a favorite rock.
Go see what he had to entertain himself with.
Yeah.
And they just, obviously they can't imagine anything else, right? But, and then I was trying to think even what I had when I was 6. And I mean, we would have had Tonka trucks and all sorts of shit, but certainly not iPads.
No.
And iPhones and whatever else kids have that they're focused on. It'll be interesting to watch it play out and see if it was a really detrimental thing that happened or if it has some benefits. The kids are friggin' smart. My dad points that out all the time.
Yeah.
Like he said, from what he remembers about being school age and stuff like these, it's amazing what their vocabulary, even their math skills is amazing. They're watching shit on YouTube, educational stuff. We do regulate probably more than maybe some. I don't know. We're kind of aggressive with that, but they're just Even tonight at supper. They were asked, well, what was 89 plus 89? Now they don't know, but my boy at 4, he's got most of his around 10 adding and subtracting already covered.
Yeah.
And apparently, like my dad said, a lot of that stuff they didn't even worry about till grade 1 or 2 or 3.
No, probably not.
School room of where you had grades 1 through 8.
Yeah, you had a whole bunch of grades all in one. Yeah.
Room.
Yeah.
It's amazing.
Yeah. Well, I think as a parent, you gotta be cautious, but you also have to be a little bit more relaxed than certainly our parents were, with stuff like that, because you don't want to give them too much. But I think you'd be a fool to limit their ability to learn that technology, because that is It's we're not going to get less technology.
We had that discussion
Right.
around Christmas presents with my side and her side, right? My brother and stuff. And then, wow, maybe they shouldn't have this and maybe they should. And you're absolutely right. What benefit is my kid learning how to send a fax?
None.
Or
None
learning how to
whatsoever.
use a rotary phone?
Yeah.
In fact, if he doesn't know how to do simple computing, he will most likely be handicapped.
Yeah.
So you're absolutely right.
That's right.
Now you can definitely censor the information that they're getting because there's some pretty awful stuff out there.
You can open a dark door pretty damn quick with a lot of them kids, right?
But you're absolutely right. It would be a total disservice to them to rob them of things like even iPads. I think that's even on the school list right away.
It is, yeah. What you need to be aware of is the behavioral problems that come with things like blue light and stuff, right? Like all of the flashing colors and all of that overstimulation of the brain. You have to be aware of that and the behavior issues it causes, and just regulate it, right? But you can't shut it down because they will be at a disadvantage in a very short time, right? So, but you have to balance it out with some real world life experience as well, right? iPad can't be. We went on a vacation last year, and a family vacation, and I remember sitting in the living room, and I'm reading a book, like an actual physical paper book, and it's quiet, and I look around, and all these kids are on their iPads playing their games, and I'm thinking, man, like, why are they not just bouncing off the walls and smashing into each other and like doing stuff that kids do, right? And so it's like, okay, let's put all this shit away and let's go hop in a boat and go do something and make a memory, right? But, yeah, wild. 2.5 hours. We're down to 4 people. 1 bar of Wi-Fi. I don't know how good the video has been tonight, but
I had this off.
Hopefully it hasn't been too bad. Hopefully the audio quality's been there. Chad's gonna go to Iceland for June, hopefully.
Iceland.
Iceland's beautiful. Absolutely. There's no ice there. Well, it's not that there's no ice there, but it's actually green.
Well,
it's actually nice.
And just what's the tourist attraction in Iceland?
Well, it's all the volcanoes and like all the geothermal energy and stuff that, and hot springs, yeah. The black sand beaches. You go to Greenland. Greenland is
cold.
It's a wasteland. Yeah, it's absolutely a wasteland. Yeah. So, yeah, and you said next you'd like to see Ireland. If anybody gets the opportunity to go to Ireland, I highly recommend it. It's like unequaled beauty blended with a populace that moves at a different pace than anywhere else in the world, aside from maybe like Jamaica, right? There's like zero fucks given, right? and that's one thing I noticed. Definitely coming from the UK to coming to Alberta is everything has to be done, if not now, then yesterday, right? Very, very impatient people. Whereas you go to Ireland and things just they happen organically, right? And they happen for the right reasons. And so to try and force something, it's less enjoyable, right? So you go there and things happen. Yeah, they do farm there. Yeah, and they got lots of sheep, so it's a good time. They farm in Iceland. Oh, not in Ireland. Yeah. They have lots of sheep in Iceland too. They're actually quite nice sheep. The Icelandic sheep, they're something to see. The big horns. Remember, John had them.
Everything's good. I know that. I never really. Of course, the places you think to visit, some of those ones they're not first on the list for sure. Yeah,
well, I think that's what a guy's got to do though, is pick those less touristy places and probably see something that matters, right?
That's true. Yeah.
Talking to a guy today about going to Rome, because Rome's always been on my bucket list, but it's one of those things that will never get pulled out of the bucket because it might just spoil it for me.
Oh yeah.
You go there and like you have, because I want to go see the Colosseum, but if I feel like if I go there and I see it, I have this vision that this is what it looks like. When you get there, it's going to be this, and not only is it going to be this, but it's going to be this behind 10 or 15,000 other people that are cramming to see it, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so you it's like you don't ever want to meet your heroes, right? Because it could disappoint you. And I think that maybe that's one of those things where you have this perception of how good it's going to be, but maybe it's not going to be that great, right? But you go to Iceland, definitely top notch. Ireland as well, absolutely top notch place to go. So yeah, don't like the heat and the beaches. I'm not a big fan of the heat and the beaches either, but I find this time of year
You can do it.
I could go for 4 days 5 nights in Mexico kind of thing, and just have a guy bring me coffee
A day of fishing.
with coffee and Bailey's. It's probably it's been 2015 was the last time we went on like a winter vacation anywhere. We went to Mexico. It was 2 guys. There was Humberto and Gumersindo, and they would bring us coffee and Bailey's. And to them, it was like coffee and Bailey's. Like this is like what like this is unheard of. Like there's like what are you mixing together? But they didn't care, right? They tip them and they bring it to you, but they think you're batshit crazy. But they bring you that every morning and every night. And I know we got back to Grand Prairie. I think it was like the middle of November or something like that. We got back to Grand Prairie and it was in a blizzard. It was minus 25, and we're just like, fuck this place. Like this sucks. Why do we live here?
Yeah, that's the same coming back.
Yeah.
Did you say we made it to 240?
241, yeah.
I can't see good from my side.
Yeah.
4 folks left.
Well, I could turn it around. You could run that.
Let's
run the show. Should we let the folks go to bed, or what do you think?
What time is it? It's got to be, I guess
10:41.
10, 11 o'clock, yeah.
Maybe up at 10 o'clock.
I guess so. We'll have to schedule another one of these.
Take Charlotte to gymnastics tomorrow, and I think we're gonna go. I'm gonna go for some skiing lessons, even maybe on Sunday.
Oh boy!
I don't know how to ski. We did. Well, of course, I've used the crutch now for like 2 decades. That I grew up somewhere that didn't have snow.
Oh yeah.
Despite the fact that having been here for longer than I lived there.
So now you gotta make up for it now, and you gotta learn.
So I've had a lot of pressure from my wife now that Charlotte's of the age to start learning that her dad should go skiing with her. Like, well, her mom grew up here and she could probably go skiing with her too. But I could take her snowmobiling, or I could take her like fishing, or do something like in more amicable weather, right? But no, I'm not winning. I'm dying on that hill every single day and not winning. So I think she signed me up for some lessons on Sunday at Nighthawk here. So
we'll have to get some footage of that.
I need like an $800 avalanche vest or something like that, so that if I fall down, I don't hurt myself. But we'll see.
I see them pop up, and then I see the one on the bottom. But
yeah, chat says skiing is bullshit. Yeah, it's a dumb sport. There's a video of me on the internet actually at the Spring Lake ski hill, and I made it like 90% of the way down. You can hear like my niece in the background saying like, "Uncle's gonna make it. He's gonna make it." And then I did some weird. I don't know what happened. Like my ski caught a rut or something, and ended up like going backwards down the hill. And then my nephew came, and then we collided, and just like.
Well, that was
tumbled
fun.
And yeah.
I haven't been skiing in a long time, and I don't plan to go.
Yeah, but
Don't plan to go anytime
I know
soon.
some folks that they it's a way of life for them, right? So
Yes, there is, yeah.
But so we'll give it a try anyways and see how it goes, and hopefully I'm not in a cast on Monday.
Well, if you are, get some good footage before.
Yeah, we'll see what we can do there. Something for the internet.
Something for the folks to laugh at. Yeah.
Yeah, gotta have a little comedic value in there. Awesome. Well,
it was a good one.
Have at her in a couple weeks again. Come up. We'll have to put a poll out and see
Do
what.
a poll, come up with a few topics. Yeah, you guys let us know too if there's something you want to talk about.
Yeah.
But other than that, that's probably
top 10 places to visit in the world or something.
The cigar's gone, so
yeah.
Show's over.
Show's over. All right. Well, let the folks go. Have a good night.
just when 6 popped up.
Just when 6 people come on, yeah.